Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 42 of the ReelTok Podcast. It's been a while since I've hosted. I've been gone, so I might be a little rusty here, but I'm excited to get back in the vibes, get back into it. Of course, I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts Seth, George, and Tyler. Appreciate everyone coming out and listening to this episode. We're recording on Saturday this week, so if any major news drops on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon and we don't talk about it, sorry. But we'll get started just real quick, running through like what the episode kind of looks like. We have reviews this week on Asteroid City and No Hard Feelings. Obviously, we'll go through some news, nerd news, and trailers. And then this week we'll be drafting the worst characters of the Hunger Games, worst characters for the Hunger Games. So like we've done best characters. We did a monster, a robot, man, woman, and then regular celebrity. We're doing that exact same format, just doing the absolute worst characters. No babies allowed, I said. You must have a fully grown human. I texted that, Seth. So that was in writing.
Can I just check? Are we doing the same format as last time as well? The exact same?
Yeah, just worst characters. So
no, I mean, like with a robot with a.
Yeah, I just said that.
Oh shit!
Like 2 seconds ago. Okay, sorry. And then, of course, we obviously have merch. The biggest thing right now is our Barbenheimer shirt. Shout out Tyler for putting that together. Very funny shirt. You gotta wear it if you're going to the Barbie Oppenheimer double feature, which I'm still doing. People got their Barbie tickets early. I'm still doing the double feature. It'll be on my birthday, so shout out me. ReelTokPodcast.com for any of our merch, but I do know right now the Barbenheimer shirt is probably our best one that we have out there. Obviously, shout out to our Patreon. We say it every week, but we really could not do this without them. It's really the only reason that we're able to come on and talk for 3 hours a day. So shout out to everyone who's in that. We've updated our tiers a little bit. I'm sure you've heard us mention that, but do want to mention it again. Starting off, Seth, how's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good. Very lackluster in comparison to last week. Haven't really done too much of anything crazy. Went to see Asteroid City, done some work, got some stuff sorted out for next week. Do another shoot next week, which is cool. Pretty standard, boring week as far as I'm concerned. Nothing really much going on. I've watched a crazy amount of films. Finally ticked off Black Mirror, which obviously I'll go over and what we've been watching in a bit. Say my quick thoughts on that. But yeah, pretty standard week as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome. Good. George, how are you?
I'm good. Pretty much the same as Seth. It was a short week in the United States because we had off on Monday. So the work week kind of flew by, which was nice. I'm not considered a new employee anymore. So I don't have to be in 5 days a week. So I've been able to work from home
what the
Fridays,
hell?
which is what?
That's so nice. That's just so nice. I know.
I know.
Yeah, I respect
it's very
it.
nice. So I'm only going in 4 days now, which is great. I'm working from home on Fridays. But no, other than that, pretty standard week. The Bear season 2 dropped, so I was really happy about that. Absolutely killed that in 1 day. And then compared to like my previous couple of weeks, this was a pretty big week of movie watching. Not necessarily things off my watch list, but just watched, more films this week compared to my previous couple of weeks. So that's always good. And yeah, it's been raining in the city. So I don't know.
Boring day then.
Yeah. Boring day after we're done recording this pod.
That's fair. Tyler, you got a little mood lighting going. How are you?
Yeah, I've had this mood lighting going the past month, but you've just been so MIA that you just haven't even noticed.
Well, I've noticed it, but today feels like really mood lit.
Yeah, I think
really.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might just be cloudy outside, so like the natural sunlight's not coming in that lights it up a bit. But it's been a hectic week. Been super busy with work. Second week on the job, just basically back to back all day with meetings. So it's just busy days. And Thursday was like the longest day of my life because Riley went back home to Texas for the weekend. So I drove her to the airport at 2 a.m. my time. My first meeting of the day was 6 a.m. So I got home from the airport at like 3:30 a.m. and I was like, I'm not just going to go sleep for like an hour and a half again and just get up and go back to work. I was just like, I'm just going to stay up. So I just recorded a bunch of content, went right into work, worked all day, ran some errands, then did a double feature of Asteroid City and No Hard Feelings, then like got back home at like 10. So it was like a 2 a.m. to 10 p.m. day. So then yesterday I just kind of recovered all day and just chilled because I
I'm
was
surprised you didn't fall
just dead.
asleep like in the screening.
honestly I like weirdly had a lot I like weirdly wasn't tired. I was doing all right, but then yesterday I just like couldn't do much. I just like had a pretty much lazy day, but it's okay because Thursday I packed like 2 days worth of activities into one. But yeah, I got the house to myself this weekend. It's
Nice.
I don't know. It's busy work still with a new puppy. Like it's still like you can't really take your eyes off him, which is like stressful and annoying. Because I'm like, oh, I just want to chill and like lay on the couch, but like every like hour or so you have to like get up and like stare at them and make sure they're not about to do some shit. But yeah, all in all, things are good. Hot as hell out here. So we'll see what I do after this episode. If I want to like go out and be productive all day, or if I want to just stay in my office and work on ReelTok.
I was gonna say, does the heat in Arizona like make you want to go outside and spend the day outside, or is it like too hot to the point where you don't even want to step outside?
Yeah, I don't know. I like to lay out like at some point every day and like read a book or something, just like enjoy the sun, but definitely like limited. Like you can't be outside too long during these like crazy summers. But like I might go golf. The golf courses are always pretty empty in the summer, so I just kind of get them to myself, and they're also super cheap. But yeah, I think I might be golfing today or at least tomorrow. But yeah, it's like you have one activity outside. You can be like, oh, I'll go lay out, or I'll go golf, or I don't know, go run errands outside. But it's like you don't want to be doing all day stuff outside, or else like it would suck.
That's fair. Yeah, I obviously have been traveling for the last 3 weekends, so it's nice to be home. But right now I have like 3 suitcases all behind me, so I'm very thankful Tyler cuts us off a little bit at the bottom because my room's just an absolute mess right now. Have not done laundry. Honestly, probably will like halfway through this podcast. I'll just grab a suitcase and dump it in the washer because we are on E with clothes right now. Was in Florida this week. It was good. It was a great time. It's funny because like in Florida, obviously the summer, they're like, this is our off season. So basically there were no lines. And whereas everywhere else that I've ever been, that summer is obviously where it's most packed. But in Florida, that's obviously where everyone goes during the winter. So it was kind of nice to be there in the off season. I thought about it, and I guess I've never really been there in the summer. So like everything that we would have done would have been like 10 times more packed if it were not June. So that was nice. Shout out Emma's cousin Olivia got married last week. I guess technically the episode we recorded last week was after the wedding, so maybe I said it then, but shout out Emma. Yesterday was her birthday, so June 23rd, 2023. Everyone, please say happy birthday to Emma. But yeah, nothing really crazy. Kind of flew back. Thank you, George. Flew back. Bailey was great on the plane, unlike some other kids. So if you ever hear kids crying on a plane, just know that's not my kid. He's a king. He had a rough flight back, but the flight there was great. Flight back, he cried for like 20 minutes and then knocked out for the other 2 hours. So I think that's pretty good.
Can you feel like the people around you on the plane? Like when you get on, do you like feel the judgment of people around you where they're all like, oh, fuck, this guy's.
I used to be very anti-baby on planes. So like now I try not to be, obviously. But again, he was great. And like a baby crying, you can't really hear. It's the baby like screaming bloody murder. And there was one kid that like the whole ride was just high pitched yelling the entire time and was clearly, and I feel like it's never really like babies sleep pretty well. It's always like a 1 or 2 year old that because they can get pretty loud and they start to feel like their ears pop and they actually like understand things that are going on. So they freak out the most. But yeah, it was a loud flight. There were a lot of kids actually that were not happy on this flight, but yeah, shout out Bailey. He's a boss. He enjoyed his time in Florida, his first vacation. But yeah, unfortunately didn't get to see the reviews this week due to flying back on Thursday night and then Friday night being Emma's birthday. Couldn't really dip out on her on the birthday, but it was good. Yesterday we went to like a water park, but it was like a 21 plus at nighttime, shut down at 10 p.m. I feel like that's kind of bullshit. Like for a 21 plus event, I feel like shutting down at 10 p.m. when you have the entire place lit up, like it's not a lighting thing. I don't know. That feels a little questionable, but it was fun.
Town had a curfew.
Huh?
maybe the town had a curfew.
Nah, it doesn't. Like, it's just like if you're from the Indianapolis area, the Monon Center doesn't have curfew. I don't know. I think it was like 8 to 10, and I feel like 2 hours for a water park, and drinking and stuff is just not enough because there's like 10 slides. We did a rock climbing wall into the water. I got to the top, no big deal. Yeah, it just feels like that's not a long enough time, but it was very fun nonetheless. Moving on, we'll just get right into the reviews this week. We'll start with Asteroid City because that was the biggest release of the week, I would say. Wes Anderson's 11th movie, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull up the description because I'm not prepared, but I do believe George, Seth, and Tyler were able to go see this. So I do appreciate y'all being able to check it out. So world-changing events spectacularly disrupt the itinerary of Junior Stargazer Space Cadet Convention / Space Cadet Convention in an American desert town circa 1955. Directed by, as I mentioned, Wes Anderson, obviously starring Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Maya Hawke, Tom Hanks. Was Margot Robbie in it?
Yeah, but not for long.
Okay, well, she's listed. Tony Ravioli, Adrian Brody, just all the Wes Anderson fellas that are always in. Bill Murray, I'm sure, made an appearance at one point.
He didn't, actually.
He didn't. Oh,
first
damn.
film since his debut that didn't have Bill Murray.
Damn. Yeah. I obviously he wasn't like in the main cast, but I kind of figured he'd make an appearance. But yeah, massive cast.
Tom Hanks replaced him as like the old white guy.
Yeah, there's always the old white guy. There's always a lot of white guys, but
usually nothing but white guys.
Yeah. That's very Wes Anderson. That's his actual style. But yeah, massive cast. Probably the most stacked cast of the summer. Other than Oppenheimer, if I do we agree? You think Barbie's bigger?
No, Barbie's definitely bigger. I think it's Oppenheimer or Asteroid City.
Yeah, so this is probably the biggest. Actually, this has Jeffrey Wright, so good on you, Wes Anderson. Way to try, I guess. But yeah, so we'll move on, or we'll get into the review. We'll start with Tyler. I think he went the earliest. Maybe George did. I don't know. We'll start with Tyler. I think he liked it the most.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like still recovering from that introduction to this whole review portion of the episode. That was a lot.
Wes Anderson, way to make strides, man. Try a little harder next time.
It's not the first. Jeffrey Wright's been in a few of his films, but Asteroid City. Yeah. So Asteroid City, going into it, I did not expect this to be what it was, and like I said in my review, it's really couldn't have come at a better time for Wes Anderson because this is like in the midst of all the TikTok trends that are like, we have Wes Anderson style exactly figured out. It's center frame, color palettes, and you got Wes Anderson done. And then he releases his most meta, like biggest brain movie he's ever done in terms of complicated themes and like trying to be super nuanced and layered. So I'm like, I feel like this is just like the perfect time. He like luckily had this film coming out when like all these people are just, I don't know. I just swear I look at all these TikTok trends and see all the comments and it's like everyone, like I just refuse to believe they all actually know who Wes Anderson even is or have seen a single Wes Anderson movie. Just because he is like still at the end of the day, he's a very popular director, but he's still like niche. Like he's not a box office blowout kind of guy. He like got a couple in the early 2010s, but he's never lightened up the box office. So I feel like there's so many people who still don't know who he is that do all these trends. But it was super meta. Tackles so many different things. Like stylistically, it's him on hyperdrive. Like this is like super Wes Anderson. Like you got obviously the color palettes. You got the same old style we know and love with the way he frames and pans the camera. But beyond that, just with having like the play inside of a movie, with having the cue cards that like say what scene is about to be. Like it just felt like super Wes Anderson-y, and which I personally enjoy. I think it's like creative. It's different. Some people don't enjoy it. It's perfectly fine. I can see why it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea. But I don't know. I feel like this just looked at so many different things. We'll talk more once we get into like spoilers, I guess, or whatever. But so I'll just kind of leave it there. Like, I feel like he just tackled so many different themes in such a creative and interesting way. And it's such a short movie. Like it's like runtime's 105 minutes, but like his actual like time on screen is probably like 95 minutes or something. So it's like they're so short. Yeah, they packed in so much here about grief, trauma, loss, where our place is in the universe, and just kind of the idea of what storytelling is in its very nature. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I give it a 9.2 out of 10 for 4.5 stars. Didn't think I would enjoy it that much. And yeah, speaking of like the most stacked cast ever, it is funny because there's so many people in it that are like household names, but a lot of them get like a couple seconds of screen time. Like Willem Dafoe, like got like 2 lines and like was very non-central to the focus. Jeff Goldblum obviously barely in it. Margot Robbie for a second there, I thought like for our first introduction to Margot Robbie for a second during the movie, I thought that was going to be it. And I was like, that'd be bold, Wes. That'd be a bold move, Wes.
I thought exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, surely
Which
not.
I low-key would have liked. Like, I love Margot Robbie, but I would have, like, respected that as, like, damn. Like,
Yeah.
because everyone was always like, why is Margot Robbie last? And it's like, and Margot Robbie. I'm like, damn, if he really just...
And she wasn't in the trailer or anything like that.
Right.
So everyone was thinking,
Because, yeah. But I'll save stuff for when we get, like, into, like, the more spoiler section, which it's not really, like, a super spoilery movie, but I'll leave it there and let the other boys speak. So I really enjoyed it. Didn't think I'd enjoy it that much. I didn't love French Dispatch. I know George was really high on it, so this is a good bounce back for Wes Anderson for me personally. And yeah, I just think this is the most meta he's ever gone in any of his films, and I appreciated that. On top of just the style, I really enjoyed. Like, I mean, naturally the desert provides a lot of like reds, oranges, cool color palette, and he played with it really well.
We'll bounce to George. We'll do a little high, low, high action. So George, this is your lowest Wes Anderson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. This is my lowest Wes Anderson rating, and I want everyone I've talked to has said that this is a movie that will benefit from rewatch. I think most movies benefit from rewatch, so I definitely am going to try to get to the theater again this week to see it. But yeah, I don't know. This movie just didn't resonate with me the way other Wes Anderson films have. And obviously take everything I say with a grain of salt because I'm in the vast minority in thinking that French Dispatch is his best film. So I'm very like weird on Wes Anderson. But yeah, this, like Tyler said, stylistically, this is his most Wes Anderson-y film. And I felt like that was very off-putting when he's trying to tackle incredibly like deep themes of like trauma and grief and shit that Tyler mentioned, you know, where's your place in the universe? Just, it was a mesh and a pairing that just didn't necessarily work for me. And I had such a hard time like locking myself into this movie. I kept trying to find something, some character, some plot point where I was like, yes, this is intriguing. This is engaging. This is like holding my attention. It just never came. To me, this film just dragged along like crazy, which sucks because, like I said, I'm coming off the French Dispatch, which I think is his best film. So I was really excited to see what he was going to follow that up with. But yeah, nothing to knock stylistically. This is a beautiful, beautiful film to look at. I think his editing style is really interesting. It's very unique. You know, Tyler said it again. He is a very niche director. He has a very interesting style of filmmaking, which I could absolutely respect. But when you give me that style of filmmaking at its like absolute heights in terms of like its quirkiness, I feel like that was a bad time to try to pair that with very deep themes of trauma, and it just never landed for me. So yeah, I did not hate the movie by any means. I enjoyed you know, a loose tackle of science fiction. I like the, you know, going back and forth from the color of the play to the black and white of the behind the scenes. I thought that was very cool. The cue cards were super Wes Anderson-y. But yeah, overall, I went with a 2.5 out of 5. I'm hoping on rewatch I can get that up a little bit, maybe after chatting with you guys and understanding where you're coming from. But for now, landed at a 2.5. It is my lowest rated Wes Anderson. But of course, I haven't seen like the Darjeeling Limited in forever. I haven't seen Bottle Rocket yet. Yeah, so maybe that last place is a bit harsh, but that's just where it lands for me for now.
And I did just want to fact check myself real quick on the box office thing for Wes Anderson. So Grand Budapest Hotel is by far his biggest movie at 173 million, but everything else is like 40 to 60. So yeah, like in general, I'd say he's a niche big director, I guess. So he's like in that big director,
huge fan base.
Right. Yeah, he's in that like big director tier, but like at the most niche level, I feel like.
Yeah, so he's making flash money. Perfect. Seth, you're up. Flash dig.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm the highest on this. Tyler, do you know where it stacks up with your other Wes Anderson films?
Second to Grand Budapest Hotel, but I think this is his most ambitious story. But I liked, just in terms of just enjoyment, Grand Budapest Hotel would probably be hard to top personally.
Yeah, so I'm exactly the same as Tyler then. This is second in my Wes Anderson. I actually went through and finished his filmography this week, and I think Wes Anderson's such an interesting director where everyone has a different list. Like George, for example, French Dispatch is his favorite. Me and Tyler, French Dispatch is my second to least favorite. Bottle Rocket being my least. I think it's least favorite for Tyler, maybe.
I don't have that one rated. I don't know where it stacks up. A lot of Wes Anderson I watched pre-2021, so I don't have it like on Letterboxd.
What, French Dispatch?
French Dispatch I have low. I thought you were talking about Bottle Rocket for a second, where I have that.
No,
rated.
I mean French Dispatch.
French Dispatch I have like a 2.5. I just didn't care for it. So I think like me and you just and George, like like you said, we have different viewpoints on Wes Anderson, which, like you said,
I think everyone
kind of does.
Yeah. So I think this is very much this is like I said in my review, this is Wes Anderson doing his best Wes Anderson. It's not going to convert anyone who isn't into his style already. But Wes Anderson fans, particularly like myself, who do enjoy all his movies, I think most of us will enjoy it. I think it's arguably his most profound work yet, in my opinion. I think my issue with previous films is the French Dispatch particularly, it lacked the emotional weight, and I think this one carried so much. It put me into a feeling of overwhelming sense of kind of wonderment and being in awe at the production and also the characters, particularly Jason Schwartzman and Scarlett Johansson's character. I actually think Scarlett Johansson, it's her best performance I've seen her give. I haven't seen Marriage Story though. I haven't seen Marriage Story, so take that into consideration. I know people love her in that.
Have you seen Iron Man 2?
I have seen Iron Man 2. I have seen.
She was pretty peak in that, guys. Pretty damn good.
But yeah, I was kind of left with an existential feeling of kind of dread and wonderment. But I do think its self-serving nature is very self-indulgent for Wes Anderson. And I think that's what puts a lot of people off, and that's why I get why George didn't like it, and a lot of other people. I think it's powerful. I think the imagery is incredible. I think that it just has such great work with his characters, whereas I'm kind of the opposite of George. I think the setting and the quirkiness works for me in terms of provoking this kind of emotional level, in terms of the tackle of grief, in terms of kind of the nihilistic dismemberment of American traditions. I think was massive in this, and I think it was like a soulful and full of heart like exploration of like performing arts, plays, movies, that sort of thing. And I thought it was really well intricate and just incredibly well designed. But I think every Wes Anderson now is well designed and intricate and meticulous detail. Even people who don't like him will say that. So I think that's not saying that's kind of obvious. And I think what worked for me most in this was the characters, which is usually what works for me least in Wes Anderson films. But yeah, that's my kind of quick thoughts. I give it 4.5. It's my best ever Wes Anderson out of his 11 films. In between Fantastic Mr. Fox and Budapest Hotel. I think this could even be a 5 on rewatch. I loved it. I thought it worked really, really well. And I'm very intrigued to see what Cam will think of it when he watches it, actually. Cam, how many Wes Anderson have you seen?
I have seen more than I've rated, but I think I've only seen / rated Grand Budapest, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and
maybe French Dispatch.
French Dispatch and Moonrise Kingdom. Do I have Isle of Dogs? I don't think I have Isle of Dogs rated. I think I saw it a long time ago, but not.
Because I'd be intrigued to see where you stand on.
Not enough to remember it. Yeah, I'm not a huge Wes Anderson guy. I've just never tried to get into his filmography too much. I definitely will.
Until this week.
Yeah, I think you said you finished it up. But I like his. I fucking love the Grand Budapest Hotel. And then I just like the other ones that I love. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I like Moonrise Kingdom and French Dispatch. But I'll try to get into his filmography sometime. I guess I've only rated Grand Budapest and Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I remember liking Moonrise Kingdom and French Dispatch. I'll get into it eventually, especially if I'm going to watch this and then try to compare it to the others. I'll watch the rest of his filmography. I looked it up on Letterboxd, his filmography, and this person's list has Life Aquatic at number 1. Broke or Woke. Don't people hate that movie?
That is, people don't hate it. It's one of my lower rated.
I thought that was
lower rated.
I think it's just like Seth said. Literally everyone can have different rankings and stuff.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So should we jump into spoilers or whatever?
Yeah, get into spoilers. Yeah. I don't care if you really spoil this kind of movie for me. I feel like it's.
I don't even think there's much to spoil.
I'll go do laundry. Y'all take your time. I'll come back in 2 seconds. So you do your thing.
What? One thing before we even get into spoilers about Wes Anderson movies, his dry humor is so hit or miss for me from movie to movie, which is crazy because it's like the same style of humor every single film, but it just depends on like the jokes and how they land for me. I swear to God, I was the only person in my theater that did not laugh once. Like I didn't break a smile.
I was the opposite. I was probably the only one who laughed in mine.
Bro, I mean, even like the French Dispatch made me laugh. The dry Wes Anderson humor has always like worked for me. Some movies more than others, but for some reason, in Asteroid City, I just wasn't finding any of it particularly funny. Like I wasn't laughing. No.
Oh wow.
Which also that threw me off because I think Josiah's Letterboxd review was Steve Carell carried, and I'm like, no, he did not.
I think that's just the Steve Carell like. Because he's got to be, it's Steve Carell, isn't it? Everyone likes him. It's one of those kind of thing.
I don't know.
I didn't find it personally. I didn't find it funny. My whole theater didn't laugh, but then I saw a lot of reviews online that said like my theater was hysterical. So I agree. I didn't personally find it funny, but I still really liked it.
Yeah, it wasn't his funniest film by far.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think my
lack wasn't like funny.
Yeah, I don't think my lack of laughter like held back the rating that much. Like I knew that wasn't the point. Like
no, not with this film. Definitely not with
like it's not like it's not a comedy. Like I don't go in expecting to laugh, but like there were some like jokes that would just landed and people were like dying, and I was like, that's just not that.
Yeah,
funny.
that does surprise. I had a few chuckles at the Steve Carell bits. I just find him generally quite funny, and some of the dry humor does work for me. But I think this was more personal, more intimate. I don't think it's very much a comedy per se, and it's not something where if you don't laugh, it's going to bring that rating down directly for you. I think that'd be kind of weird if you went into it and you were like, "Oh, I rated it low because I didn't laugh." Well, not many. I don't think many people laughed at this. You know what I mean? I had comments on my review saying it's Wes's funniest film yet, which is fine if you think that. Obviously, whatever. I think it was funny. I had a few chuckles, but I think Wes has done a lot more, which have leaned into the comedy. I think this very much leaned into more of the grief and traditions, etc. I don't think it was particularly comedy orientated most of the time. I think he just, because of his dialogue and the cast more than anything, you've got Steve Carell who has a certain delivery, especially with his films, and I think it inherently has comedic moments, but it wasn't a comedy film. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like something you're gonna howl at the whole time. Well, I didn't.
Like neither was the French Dispatch, but like that still made me chuckle. Like that had so many like quick one-liners. Like Timothée Chalamet was giving quips, Frances McDormand was dropping lines that were just making me cry.
Yeah,
maybe not cry, but laugh.
I guess I think, I'd say French Dispatch was probably, especially with Timothée Chalamet's character, lead more into the comedy because he had a lot of like kind of one-liners. I liked his character a lot, and I was just a quirky guy. But this is like all of his character writing, really. But yeah, I found it funny, just not a laugh out loud consistently. I was more sad, to be honest, when I left. Like it really did put me in this existential feeling of just like crisis, and it really, really saddened me at points, which I think is what Wes Anderson is so successful at. I think the most impressive thing for me is I'd usually be in George's position where he does rely on the quirkiness quite a lot because it's a Wes Anderson film, especially with this. This is a very Wes Anderson film. But I think for me, one of the biggest accomplishments I take from it is he manages to balance that and still have me emotionally impacted as well. Because for any director, that's a really hard thing to do. If you've got that amount of quirkiness, that amount of dry humor at points to actually, revoke an emotional impact out of your viewer, I think that's like a massive accomplishment in general. And it worked for me. I know it didn't work for you, George, and a lot of people, to be fair. But
I think that's what separates me and you two's viewing experience. Like, I just didn't care for the emotional aspect of this film. Like the characters, there was just, I don't know, and maybe I watched the film incorrectly, but there was very little substance.
I don't think you watched it incorrectly. I just think it's just different viewpoints. It's like me with French Dispatch. I'm exactly.
There was just very little in this movie for me to like really latch onto and be emotionally connected to or invested to, and that's what like threw me off. Like obviously, like I said, there's nothing knocking this movie in terms of like style. Like I love the way Wes Anderson shoots his films and edits his films. It was the substance aspect of it. And I hate being that guy to say style over substance because I know that this movie is thematically rich. Just none of those themes landed with me. None of those themes resonated with me the way maybe, something like a Fantastic Mr. Fox or an Isle of Dogs have resonated with me over the years.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, the main takeaway I got from this movie, like especially with how fragmented it was with the cue cards every 7 minutes or so with like a new act, new scene, is that I just really got like this. The takeaway of this is just humans telling stories to kind of try and process things that aren't able to really be processed. And the biggest thing I got from that was Brainiac and like the fellow stargazers, how like they go around the circle like naming things, and you see they've been doing it for like hours, and like they're so smart, they'll never lose that game. They can figure out like any math equation, they can invent any crazy thing. But when like the aliens come, like they realize that they really don't know anything, and that there's just a vast uncertainty and unknown in the universe, and even them that are like the smartest people on the planet still realize they're just such a small piece of the puzzle and aren't able to have answers for everything. And then like the stories are like, because like Augie and Midge, played by Scarlett Johansson and Jason Schwartzman, clearly Jason Schwartzman's dealing with grief and loss. Like he lost his wife, doesn't know how to tell his kids, doesn't really know how to put it behind him, how he should move forward. And then Midge is clearly dealing with some like heavy trauma with like her character, and like she's like, oh, and she always says like, oh, I'm trying to get into character, or like put on this makeup that looks like she got beat, and like clearly she's like processing some stuff with that. And then when you peel back the layer, and you like Jason Schwartzman's like play character, who then goes talk to Margot Robbie, who played his wife, and then they're talking about grief and loss there too. So I just feel like there's just so many different ways Wes Anderson used stories, whether it was the play within the movie, or when you peel it back and go behind the scenes of the play. It's just all these different characters, all these different side stories that all tackle so many things, that kind of the overarching answer is just like there is really no answer, and there's no justification for so many things in life, and how to process it all. And then obviously the powerful ending, which it was powerful, but I forgot what the quote was. Where it was like, you can't fall asleep unless you're awake, or you can't stay awake unless you fall asleep. And then they just repeat that over and over. I was like, damn, this is getting like cult-like at the end here. And just the whole galaxy and the outer space. Like when they're putting stuff on the moon, it's like, why would you put a star on the moon? And it's like, why would you do like, it's just, this whole movie is just about how like there is no answer. Things don't have to make sense, and that's okay. And it's kind of the point of the movie for me. That's kind of the takeaway I got. But yeah, I don't know. I can totally see why this isn't for everyone. Like I think this is one of Wes's least accessible films, which is why
it might be at least like his least.
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely down there in terms of accessibility. So I'm like really interested to see like next week, or as the weeks go on, what the audience score ends up being. Cause like all these TikTokers who just heard of him for the first time, like all the people who just, like not movie talkers, but people who just saw the trends, are they going to go see this? I feel like this is one that if they do go see this, they're going to hate it. So interesting.
I think this could be his lowest average rated film on Letterboxd. I genuinely think it could be that. I think it's like Tyler said, at least accessible. You're watching, I don't think we got into this, but this is how much there's to it. And go back to what George said. I think this will require multiple watchings. We're watching Bryan Cranston, obviously, who is hosting a TV special talking about Asteroid City, which is a fake play, and then looking behind the meanings of the makings of the play. There's so much to it. The differences in aspect ratio I thought were really, really cool, how he kept going back and forth. And I really like the moment, if you guys remember, when Bryan Cranston's in Asteroid City, and then he's like, oh, I'm not meant to be here, am I? Because he's not actually in the play. And I just think it's really, really clever. But I do think it's going to be very divisive. It's going to be very interesting. And I think for most people, it might... I don't know if you will like it on another watch, George. You may just not be for you, but I think it's worth it, because I think that I don't think anyone can really absorb all what it's trying to give you in just one viewing. There's also a lot of kind of notable mentions to writers, to playwrights. So Wes Anderson always has these like little nods towards historical figures in certain industries, and I think it's impossible to get all that in one viewing. Especially like Tyler said, it's probably ends up being like 95 minutes. Not including the credits intro. Yeah. And I think that it tackles so much in that period, it's going to be impossible to absorb all that. But I'm very interested to see where this goes with ratings. I actually checked before this. Bottle Rocket is like a 3.5, which was his debut, his lowest rated one. I think it could be around that marker, because I think this will be like the most divisive Wes Anderson today, because he leans so heavily into his style, and it's not very accessible. Can you imagine if this was someone's first Wes Anderson film and they went into this? You'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I probably wouldn't like this nearly as much if this was my first Wes Anderson film. And I think it benefited me that I watched all of his films this week, so it's kind of fresh in mind. Well, not all of them. I had like 6 to watch, and I watched all 6 this week. So I had his style. It was fresh. It was there, and I was enjoying it. And I think that benefits my watch. Yeah, very, very intrigued to see kind of what the overall reaction will be like in a couple of weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely need a rewatch because there's so much I still don't understand. Like I don't understand like when the alien came down, they just grabbed the meteor just to like inventory it and put it back. Didn't really catch like what that was supposed to mean.
The alien, man, that was so fun. Did you not laugh at that? I found that really funny. When he comes down and he's like, I loved the alien design of the Wes Anderson film, man.
Well, so like that's what's funny because we talked about Margot Robbie. Like for our first introduction to her is just like she's basically Jason Schwartzman's wife who dies, and we just see like a picture of her because he's a photographer. And for like a long chunk of the movie, I thought that was gonna be all we saw of Margot Robbie. I was like, damn. Same thing for Jeff Goldblum as the alien. I thought we wouldn't even see his face. I thought it was just gonna be like he's the guy in the suit. We will never see him because it was trending that way. Because like Willem Dafoe's in this cast, but he gets like 2 lines. So I was like, oh, okay. I mean, which makes sense. This movie's like 95 minutes. And there's like 30 people that are like household names, almost actors. Like they're not all gonna get like a lot of screen time, but.
And then there's obviously Adrian Brody, who was the director of the play, and we see a lot of monologues with him, which I thought were great. I really liked those sequences where he's talking to Jason Schwartzman's character. I think they were fantastic, and I think that was a really interesting character for him to play. But yeah, I see what you mean. Like, I loved it when we saw Jeff Goldblum behind the scenes, just sat there with the mask off, just speaking to them about how he's playing the alien. I just thought that was really, really clever.
But it just kind of goes back to like what Seth was saying. Like it's impossible to unpack this all in one viewing. Like I said, I pulled a lot from this, but still, no, there's so many portions of this movie that just went completely over my head that I just did not understand. I don't know, like I get it was the point for like the 3 daughters to be chaotic, and I don't know if there's a sound editing issue or this is just like on purpose, but every time they like screamed, it was like 10 times louder than any of the other audio in the movie. Maybe it's because I was like in the front row and like in the middle of the theater, so the speakers would focus on me. But every time that like his 3 daughters like all like screamed in unison, like it shattered my ears. Like, fuck, there's like 10 times louder than any of the other dialogue.
I don't think I noticed that, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it might have just been just my theater, like where I was sitting, because like it was just always so much louder than everything else, and it like pained me. But yeah, there's so much that just went over my head.
Screaming, to be honest.
Right, and like it was meant to be chaotic. Like they would all 3 always be like screaming at once, and
yeah, that's yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I really do need to rewatch it. It's not a movie I want to immediately rewatch. I think it's like whenever it comes out on streaming or whenever it's like not in theaters. It's not one like I'm going to go to the theaters the next week and rewatch it.
I might
sit on it.
go to it again, I think.
Are you going to bring Anna to it?
No, she fucking hates it. Anna watched, she's only seen one, and that was Grand Budapest Hotel, and she gave that like a 2-star. She gave that a 2-star, which is arguably one of his most accessible and enjoyable works. I think she would despise this. She's not like a Wes Anderson person at all. It's a very unique style. I think some people do really, really dislike him as the director, and she's one of those people. So I think I'll try and go on my own. I might take my mom, and I might try to go on my own next week again, because I do want to see this again. I think this could be a strong contender for my. I don't think we've mentioned this actually, especially me and Tyler. I think this right now sits second in my films this year. I haven't watched that many, bear in mind. I think I've watched like 20, 25, somewhere around there. But I think if I had another watch, I think this could go first. I really, really enjoyed it. Where does it sit for you at the minute, Tyler?
I think it's 4th.
Okay, so it's high.
I'll have it in 2 seconds. Yeah, it is 4th out of 127. So very high praise for me.
Where's it for yours, George? Like last?
No, it's 24.
There's been a lot of shit this
year
in terms of films. It's definitely not near that.
It's no Skinamarink.
I think a lot worse than that, George.
But it is one that
actually, I can. Yeah.
It is just style on overdrive to where like I think it is just not going to be the most accessible, because like the whole cue cards thing, which like I said, that's one of the biggest takeaways I got from it. That like they did it so much because like each little story is supposed to be representative of like broader just storytelling nature of how people cope with different events and traumas in life. But I guarantee like if I brought like a friend or like Riley even to like this movie, like by the time like the second cue card showed up of like act 1 scene like 3 through 6, they'd be like, okay, what the fuck is this? Like this is too frustrating. Which like
it's very
even me who like kind of enjoyed that, like even me at points I was like, this is getting to be a lot. And like the cue cards were like just like maybe 2 seconds too long of what they should have been. I'm like, this is really like fragmenting the movie, which I get. Like for me, like that's one of the takeaways I got. But for people who are going to go see this that aren't very familiar with Wes Anderson, they're going to be like, oh man, well, maybe we should have just left this on TikTok.
I would love people's reaction for this to be their first Wes Anderson film. I just think that'd be hilarious, man. Like, I'd just love to see what people thought if it was his first film. I think it's just it really is Wes Anderson being so self-indulgent and just doing everything he wants in this film, which works for me, but definitely doesn't work for a lot of people. What I'm finding anyway. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
I have a couple fun facts on IMDb we can go over if we don't have anything else to say.
Go
Nice.
Go crazy.
No, I don't think we have anything.
To answer George's or Cam bringing up Bill Murray, Bill Murray was originally cast in Steve Carell's role in this movie, but he contracted COVID-19 shortly before filming, so they replaced him. And the fun fact is, this is actually the second time that Steve Carell has taken over a role from Bill Murray. The other one was Frank in Little Miss Sunshine, and I could just not picture Steve Carell not being that role in Little Miss Sunshine.
So good.
Another one, Scarlett Johansson said she had no problem filming her full frontal nude scene, except she ended up having to
That was her?
Yeah.
They didn't show her head, so I was so sure that was a body.
I know, and she talked about that too. She said like everyone always uses body doubles, but she didn't. This is actually her. She had to direct the scene herself because Wes Anderson was too embarrassed to do it, which is just such a funny movie maker nerd thing. Because I'd almost guarantee that means in The French Dispatch that he didn't film the Leah Seydoux fully frontal nude scene. I feel like he's like, someone else do it. I can't go in there. There's body parts.
That's really weird. To be
honest. Know. So she directed that scene herself.
That's crazy.
Just a quirky little guy.
It's funny.
And yeah, I think that's basically it. But yeah, like
those are the fun facts.
But Bill Murray also, yeah, like we said, his first film, he was not in Wes Anderson since the debut Bottle Rocket. So long-standing friendship. Wow. It is true, yeah. 1996, so what, 27 years ago was the last time Bill Murray was not in a Wes Anderson movie.
I actually didn't realize he was in every single one. That's really interesting.
But yeah, that's all we got for fun facts. But yeah, I really liked it. 4.5 out of 5. I need to rewatch it, and I think it's one that will go up on rewatch for me as well. So we'll see where it ends up, and I definitely will rewatch it. So by the time my end of the year rankings comes out, we'll see just how high it can climb.
All righty. As Tyler mentioned, he has a 4.5 out of 5. I believe Seth is right there with him. Seth, is this your second of the year?
Second of the year, yeah.
Behind Guardians or Spider-Verse?
Behind Guardians. Behind Spider-Verse, ahead of Guardians.
Ahead of Guardians. Perfect. And then George, 2.5 out of 5. May want to rewatch, but as of now, it is his lowest rated Wes Anderson. Moving on to No Hard Feelings. Unfortunately, I believe Tyler's the only one that got a chance to see this one this week. As Tyler carries this pod on his back. But on the brink of losing her childhood home, a desperate woman played by Jennifer Lawrence agrees to date a wealthy couple's introverted and awkward 19-year-old son. However, he proves to be more of a challenge than she expected, and time is running out before she loses it all. No Hard Feelings, directed by Gene Stupnitsky. I don't know. Obviously starring Jennifer Lawrence, as mentioned, Andrew Barth, Feldman, who I believe dropped out of Harvard to film this, which of course that was a big story, but of course you would. Why would you not? Or maybe he took the year off or something, but those are the two main stars. Tyler, I believe you really like this. I think it has I'm gonna up Seth's favorite movie reviewing site. It has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, which doesn't really mean anything, but seems a lot lower than what the reception I see of it online is. I feel like most people are really, really enjoying it. I know it's not a 60 out of 100. All right, 3.4, but that seems more fair. I just feel like a 60% is lower than what I see online. So Tyler, give your thoughts.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think we are in a revival of the comedy genre right now. It is different than it was in the 2000s. This is a 2000s comedy for sure. But just within the past 2 weeks, seeing The Blackening, Joyride, and No Hard Feelings, these are all three comedies that hit really well. Whereas so many of the comedies we're used to, because I feel like comedy as a genre has kind of died the past few years because I feel like it's easy to do for streaming originals. So we've just been so saturated with this bad Netflix original comedies, just bad streaming comedies, like The Day Shifts and all those awful You People, all those awful streaming comedies. So it's rare that we get a true theater release, true comedy that isn't something that's packed with romance or packed with sadness. I feel like a pure comedy people are straying away from. But Joyride, No Hard Feelings are incredibly raunchy comedies. The Blackening is an incredibly edgy comedy. So this summer's been very good, I think, for the pure comedy. And No Hard Feelings, just going to address this right off the bat. People doing the whole if roles were reversed. So Jennifer Lawrence is a 32-year-old woman. Andrew Barth Feldman's a 19-year-old man. So if we did a 32-year-old man going after a 19-year-old woman, that explains about 99% of Hollywood movies. So stop with this whole if the roles reverse, 32-year-old man and a 19-year-old woman. That's just Hollywood. That's just every movie ever. That's every real life relationship ever too. Like I swear, there's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro have freaking people that are 70 years younger than them, and no one cares about that. But this movie really wasn't creepy. It didn't toe the line. Like I think a lot of people from the trailers thought this could be like a very predatory, creepy movie. It really wasn't. It doesn't really go past that edge, past that limit. It is raunchy though, because Jennifer Lawrence, again, just like Scarlett Johansson, full nudity for like an extended time. It's not even just a quick snap. It's like a 2-minute scene of her completely naked.
I'll be seeing it tomorrow then.
Yeah, every inch of her body is fully there, and like it's not quick. It's just it's a long scene. So definitely raunchy in that matter. And yeah, she was just incredible. I think it's just like the type of movie she's meant for. Even though she is great in dramas like Causeway, she's great as a lead girl like in The Hunger Games, but I think her natural energy and her natural personality lended itself super well to this movie.
I can imagine that. I actually think Jennifer Lawrence is quite funny in a lot of things.
Like when you see like her real life like interviews and stuff like that, like this just feels like this is like a very natural movie for her. And Andrew Barth Feldman was like every bit her equal in terms of he was super funny, played off each other super well. The hit rate on the comedy I thought was insane. I think it's obviously impossible to have a comedy that you think every joke is funny in. So it's definitely not that. There's definitely things that I was like, oh, that's not that funny, which is, like I said this in my Joyride review, which talk about it a little later, I guess, that like if a comedy like is like a 50% hit rate for me, I think that's like really good. If like half the jokes hit, I'm like, okay, that was like really good. I think it's even higher than 50%, but there's still definitely parts. And I think it is a rush, not rush in terms of like, they should have packed in more, but it's just like a short movie. It's 90 minutes, which is like a perfect comedy length. But that means some of the story gets wrapped up super quick and story kind of progresses super quick. Because basically she's trying to save money in order to save her house because her parents pass away and she inherits the house from them. But just because you get a free house doesn't mean you don't have to pay for it because you have to pay taxes. And she basically just works as a bartender. So she doesn't have enough money. And it's she's living in like not a gentrified area, but it's an area like when she got the house, like it's basically boomed since. So like her property taxes are like crazy now and she can't afford it. So that's why she has to kind of go through these things because her car gets like totaled. Yeah, her car gets totaled and towed. So she has to get this new car from this family, which is kind of how this all gets kicked into motion. She has to try and get a car to be an Uber driver to save money. And yeah, I don't think it's super funny. She's basically just like a super predator. Like she's like, she doesn't even try to hide it. She literally just tries to like force this guy to date her. And then basically she realized that doesn't work. So then they end up getting a genuine connection. It's fun. It's cute. It's like barely a 4-star for me. It's a 7.5 out of 10. So it's like,
a 4-star. Interesting. Though.
Yeah. So it's like a 3.5 to 4. I just think I rated this extra highly because I usually dislike comedies a lot. And this felt a lot like a 2000s comedy. And this is just like the type of movie I really hope succeeds because the mid-budget comedy I truly think is like just like a dying thing. We don't get any instant classics anymore. Like immediately when The Hangover and Step Brothers came out, people knew immediately that that's a classic. Like you just know right away when stuff like that comes out. Whereas we haven't had really anything like that from the comedy genre in a long time, I feel like. So I just hope this does well. The mid-budget comedy. Jennifer Lawrence was awesome in this. And yeah, it's just a good time. I thought
this had quite a high budget. Does it not?
Well, like mid-budget, so like 45 million. Like it's not 100+ million.
I don't know what comedies usually are, to be honest. I'm not really too sure.
It depends. Like I think like the grown-ups movies are pretty expensive just because they have so many actors that people know in it. But yeah, like I think people enjoy this. Like I said, like there's a lot of full frontal nudity or a lot of everywhere nudity for Jennifer Lawrence. So like if there's like a movie you're like, oh, I'm gonna go see it with like my mom and dad. Just keep that in mind. If you get awkward with that kind of things, like it's like a 2.5 minute scene that you'll probably be very awkward during if you go with your parents. But yeah, there's like the only other people in my theater were like older people, which is weird, like couples. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like from the trailers, I wouldn't see any reason why any person not in like a younger generation would think this was an interesting movie. But I guess Jennifer Lawrence is just that kind of girl that people want to go and see. She's a true movie star. So yeah, fun movie. I'd recommend it to anyone. Same with The Blackening and Joyride. Like I just think the comedies coming out in the summer are actually pretty good.
Yep. We'll see when I see this because I know Emma wants to go see it with me, so that kind of limits.
Yeah, I don't want to see it with me.
To when we can get a babysitter, but I do want to watch it. I do love Jennifer Lawrence. Grown Ups 1 and 2 both had a budget of $80 million. But like you said, they have a cast, and Adam Sandler is just running a money laundering scheme to get all his friends paid. So makes sense that they had a very high budget. Any other comments on No Hard Feelings from Seth or George? Any thoughts? Okay.
I'll see it next week probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, but we'll move on. As always, if you're enjoying this episode, please rate us on Spotify and Apple. 5 stars would be extremely helpful. Go to YouTube, tell a friend about it. As we've said many times, like there's no algorithm on YouTube. It's just if like someone Googles like Asteroid City review and that's in our title, like that's the only way. So thumbs ups, likes on the video really help us out, as well as if you could tell a friend, that would be fantastic. But moving on to a little hey, it's trailer time. Not a ton of big trailers this week. Actually, I don't know. It's not a bad week for trailers. Me being nerd guy, we'll start with Kraven the Hunter, which just by the way, I'm gonna give my thoughts of this thing looks like shit. It does not look very good, but if you don't know the Kraven the Hunter story, I know like Seth asked about him earlier this week. It's basically another Sony Spider-Man villain universe movie. Kraven the Hunter in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, is just this brutal like murderer. Does not care about like anything really, and like he has like a very famous storyline of One Last Hunt. And it's basically just him hunting Spider-Man. That's kind of his thing. He's a hunter and he hunts Spider-Man, and that's the play. In this movie, he is an animal lover, and I think, like, if I'm not mistaken, his dad, played by Russell Crowe, is supposed to be like the Kraven the Hunter from the comics. So his dad's a hunter. His dad's like murdering, which Kraven the Hunter, you hunt. But yeah, it's whatever. Who the fuck cares? From the trailer, he gets his powers from like
the blood of a lion.
Yeah, getting bit by a lion. And it's just one of those things where they make that change and they just did not need to, because in the comics, I believe he takes an herb, kind of like he's like a Black Panther type character that has like powers, but from a special herb, I guess. But in this, I guess he's just Lion Man. I don't know, guys. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's rated R. So they can at least make kills brutal, which is a big problem with Venom, Let There Be Carnage especially, and Morbius, is that they just don't have like brutal kills and they're villains. But it's just this anti-hero story that I feel like does not work, and Sony clearly doesn't know how to do it. So any thoughts from y'all?
Yeah, it just looked like the most Sony superhero movie ever, and I'm starting to think that anti-hero movies are not possible unless it's like a massive character like Joker or whatever, Darth Vader.
He wasn't even an anti-hero. He shoots someone in the face at the end of that movie. Like, just yeah,
I know, but yeah, and I'm still, and I hate to say this, but I'm still holding out hope, because I do like Aaron Taylor Johnson, but there were so many, like you said, just interesting decisions that they made when like writing this movie and going about like certain plot points that just, while I was watching the trailer, like I know I don't react like when I actually post my trailer reactions, but like that straight face was a genuine straight face, because I was just kind of looking at this trailer. I was like, what are we doing? The decision to make like Russell Crowe like Kraven the Hunter, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson like his successor, is very
Kraven
interesting.
the nice guy.
Yeah, Kraven the nice guy with no Russian accent. The
idea to give one of them a Russian accent and not the other.
It makes
like,
I don't. That's the theme of this entire trailer. It's just a bunch of weird decisions that are so off-putting. It's gonna make a lot of people lose excitement for this movie.
Yeah. Tyler and Seth, any thoughts from people that don't give a shit? First off,
okay.
Yeah,
Aaron Taylor Johnson looks very handsome though.
Yeah, I'll give them one thing. The poster is very good looking.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he looks good. He looks good himself, but his design is awful. Like, it's just so uninspired. The whole movie feels uninspired.
No. In the defense of Kraven the Hunter, like comic accuracy is going to come off very corny in live action. I think it's the same way with Aquaman. Like
try any comic accuracy. I feel like if you're changing how he gets his powers and you're not giving him his like coat.
Oh no. I was just talking about like the way he looks, like what he's wearing. Like it just looks corny, like that giant fur vest. It's not gonna look as cool as it does drawn on a comic book page.
And he's like sitting in this throne that has like skulls in it, but like he isn't or I guess he's killing people, or he like the big moment in the trailer is he bites off a guy's nose, which like that's cool and you can do that, but I don't know. It's just the trailer did not look good and they made a whole lot of changes, and we'll see. It's very rare that I'll ever say a comic book trailer doesn't look good, because I'll always at least try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But if I get another Morbius, man, it's just also like, and I know you shouldn't go into a movie like building, what is this building to? But that's what they want from these movies. So it's at least begging the question, what are these Venom? Like they teased in Morbius, they said, I don't know why I'm here, but something has to do with Spider-Man or whatever the post-credit scene from Michael Keaton was.
That was so ridiculous.
Like they're clearly trying to tease stuff, but I am putting my foot down. June 24th, 2023. They will never meet Spider-Man ever. And so like, what's the fucking point? I don't know. It doesn't look good. And I'm a little upset about that. One last shot at Madam Web, I guess. That's their whatever. Kraven the Hunter looks awful. But moving on to the biggest trailer, probably the like most talked about trailer is Challengers. The Zendaya three-way movie that everyone's freaking out online about. Tom Holland crying in the club right now. But Challengers, directed by Luca Guadagnino. Basically Zendaya.
Nice.
Huh? Thank you. I don't have the full description, but Challengers, Zendaya plays a famous tennis star. I'll read it. Tasha, a tennis player turned coach, has transformed her husband from a mediocre player into a world-famous Grand Slam champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she makes him play a challenger event close to the lowest level of tournament on the Pro Tour. Tensions soon run high when he finds himself standing across the net from the once promising, now burnt out Patrick, his former best friend, and Tashi's former boyfriend. So Zendaya, Mike Feist? Anyone? Feist. Okay. Josh O'Connor. And any thoughts outside of the tennis looks like shit?
Yeah, George hated the trailer. I loved it, but I'm a Luca guy.
I like the trailer.
I loved Bones and All more than all the rest of this pod. I'm a big fan of Call Me by Your Name. So Luca's, if he's coming out with something new, I'm gonna be very excited for it. And
have you seen Suspiria yet, pal?
No, I need to watch both the original and the remake. But I've heard a lot of people say they like the remake better than the original, and that's like one of the few movies that people say that about.
The original's amazing.
Lucas is kind of that guy, I guess. I really like him. And yeah, this just looked wild and like it's just funny. Like all the memes were funny with Tom Holland like having to watch this trailer.
Very funny. Very funny.
Because like I don't know. I thought this looks good. I can totally see why George says like the tennis looks awful. I just think sports and movies in general looks terrible. Like. I don't think sports ever like football. American football's never looked good in the movie ever. Basketball is the only thing that can come somewhat close to looking good. I feel like
it looked good in Shooting Stars
because they use D1 basketball players,
D1 athletes, but it actually looked good. So
but no, I think sports and movies is very hard to make look cool, and I don't think this one is gonna be any different. I don't think it looks that great, but we'll see how much of it actually matters for the tennis and how much of it's like
probably doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but yeah, I can see why George would not like it because of that.
No, I mean, I'm by no means a Luca Guadagnino hater. I love Call Me by Your Name. I thought Bones and All was good. I give it a 3.5, 4 out of 5 stars. So I'm high on that movie as well. But it's the tennis. The tennis just removes me from that movie. It just looks so shitty. I don't think tennis is that hard of a sport to play. Just learn how to swing a fucking racket and not look unathletic. I don't understand. Like there's one shot in the trailer of Zendaya hitting a forehand, and there's no way that's passable as a Grand Slam champion.
Yeah, now you know how I feel in that slow-mo football scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm like, what is this?
I hate that damn scene. That scene sucks. Also not needed for slow-mo.
one of the most inspirational scenes out there. You guys are bugging.
God, I hate that scene.
But no, I think the tennis does look quite bad. And obviously George would have an even better eye than me, but I can't even admit that. I was like, yeah, it looks terrible. But like I said, like the trailer didn't give me the vibes that that's going to be like like the synopsis, I guess, makes it sound like it is. But the trailer obviously focused a lot more on the three-way relationship, which if they're just doing that for the shock value of a trailer, I absolutely don't blame them to try and show as much of that as possible in the trailer, just to be like, look at this movie that's coming out, Zendaya and Mike Feist.
Yeah, it got talked about.
It did. So they did well for the trailer perspective, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yeah. I think it'll be a lot more on the relationship than the tennis, but I don't know. Basically the synopsis Cam read made it seem like tennis is a major focal point of the story. So we'll see. Comes out in what, like September? October?
Yeah, it's a bit away. It's after September 11th, I can tell you.
It's not that far away. Like this year's kind of low key flying by. It's almost July.
Yeah, it is. It is flying by. You're not wrong. Seth, any thoughts?
I don't know. It didn't really interest me, to be honest. The trailer. I'm just not really that bothered about it, which is surprising. I'll still watch it though. It could be okay. I don't know.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes. The funniest meme I saw about the trailer was, have you guys ever seen Parks and Rec? It was a picture of April with her boyfriend and like his boyfriend, and it was like Challengers 2023, and I found that very funny. But
did you know the shot in No Way Home where like after spoilers if you haven't seen No Way Home, yeah, just throwing it out there,
sure.
Like where right after Aunt May dies and Spider-Man standing in the rain looking up at
I saw that.
J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh yeah, crying, and it's like Tom Holland watching this trailer.
Someone cropped in the still of the two guys kissing Zendaya's neck. Yeah,
that good memes come from it, and if you have a movie that has good memes, I'll watch it. So moving on from Challengers, which I'm excited for as well, to a movie that I thought I was going to hate, but I kind of love this trailer of Dumb Money, which is the story basically about, I'm sure, George, I think you work in like stocks a lot, is about basically the GameStop stock skyrocketing during COVID. It became a huge meme on Wall Street Bets Reddit. I was big in like listening to what was happening, but I did not invest in GameStop when it was happening, because by the time it got big, it was kind of over. So I didn't really know about it early on, but I was big on it when it was happening. It feels like I knew they announced this movie a long time ago. And it kind of just sounded like something that's like, okay, this was funny when it was happening, but they're going to do it and it's going to be way out of touch and it's going to be so far from now that it's not going to matter. It is 3 years later from when maybe that was about 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess 2 years later, but I don't know. I enjoyed this trailer. It stars Paul Dano, Seth Rogen,
Nick Offerman, isn't it?
Nick Offerman's in it, Shailene Woodley, probably a whole lot more. Oh, Pete Davidson's in it, because Pete Davidson's in everything now.
Yeah.
That other guy's in it from Transformers as well, isn't he?
Anthony Ramos. Directed by Craig Gillespie, who did I, Tonya, which is fantastic. Cruella, which is one of the best live action Disney. It's not a remake, but it kind of is like a legacy remake. Craig Gillespie, great director, so awesome director. I'll give him. I don't know if he's great, but I like this trailer. You guys got any thoughts on it?
I think this looks pretty fun. I'm quite looking forward to this. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it like genuinely surprised me, because just like you said, Cam, I thought this was just going to be like, okay, this was all funny in the moment. Let's just quickly make a movie for an easy buck. But I was genuinely surprised by how like competent the trailer looked. I also work in bonds, not stocks. Thank you.
I'm not gonna lie. I always thought you worked in stocks.
Yeah,
no,
you do something in New York with money. So
something
therefore stocks. But this to me was like, I think, I don't know if we talked about it last week or a couple of weeks ago or what, but this to me is like the Squid Games like reality show and live action, or not live action, like US remake of like Squid Games hype was 2.5 years ago at this point. What's his name? Mr. Beast made a video like 3 weeks after it's already been done. Crazy. You're way past the like hype of the show. But this, I don't know. They made a good trailer, so I'm excited.
Paul Dano, I do love. I think he'll play
Yeah.
good lead.
Paul-
I like
yeah.
him.
Paul Dano's great. So I think that's a bonus. Next up, short, just snippet, not a whole lot to talk about, but Sofia Coppola's Priscilla.
Yeah, interesting.
It was just kind of like a teaser trailer. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts. Obviously,
I saw that they've obviously seen test screens of it. The Presley estate, and I saw that Priscilla. Is it Priscilla? I really liked
Priscilla
it. She really
liked it.
Priscilla really liked the movie.
And then
remainder
the rest of
the
them hate him.
estate.
They
Yeah.
hated it. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm quite intrigued by this.
Which, if time tells us anything,
it'd probably be good.
Yeah, the Tolkien estate hates Lord of the Rings, so it's perfect. It's fantastic.
Well, I just
When does it
True.
come out? Is this soon?
that's like September something.
Okay, so it's not
It's
too far.
it's.
I think it's premiering at Venice, maybe. So whenever that is.
I think you are right about that.
Is
but-
that September? I
Yeah,
don't
because
know
we
how
covered
it's
Venice and TIFF, I think, on our first Real Talk. So yeah, September, August.
October 2023 is the initial release as of now, but so you'll get it in 2025, Seth.
No, I'll get it in 2028 or something like that.
Probably.
Right.
But yeah, my big complaint about Elvis, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, was that it's like any other biopic in terms of they just really glaze over the stuff that's like negative about their lives and really just trying to make it be like, hey, look at this person, look at all the highlights, they never did anything wrong. Whereas really like this whole relationship is like very predatory in nature. So the fact that Elvis's estate doesn't like it means it's probably painting him in a more negative light than like Baz Luhrmann's Elvis did, which fine. That's awesome. You literally a year ago got your own movie praising your entire life and like barely minorly tiny bit showing some stuff that was bad. Let's hear from Priscilla Presley's side, who was like, 14 when Elvis was 24 and that's when they got together. So like, yeah, obviously not the greatest. So I'm excited to hear that Priscilla loves it. And it's kind of from her perspective. So it should be interesting. And Sofia Coppola is a skilled director. So she's not just going to like glaze over something like that.
And Tom Hanks isn't in this one as well. So
that's great.
Massive W.
This trailer. Did you guys ever watch Spencer?
Yep.
The Netflix one.
I never watched it. The
Is that the
Hulu.
Netflix one?
It's Hulu.
It's not a Netflix original. It might be on. I think I might have saw it on Netflix now, but no.
It
It's
might
not.
be on. I think I saw it.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Hulu.
Oh, well, I don't know. But yeah, I saw Spencer. What's up, George?
Oh, I know which one.
Yeah,
you mean. I know which one you mean.
That's the vibe I'm getting for where it's like a more like grounded biopic, and they're not going to gloss over like shit that should not be glossed over the way like a typical biopic like Elvis or Rhapsody or Rocket Man may have glossed over.
Yeah. But yeah, looks fine. It's not a ton we got, but I am excited for the movie. And then lastly, a trailer, I believe that came out last night. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but Drive Away Dolls. I think you added this on, George. Anything to say about it?
I added it on. I saw
Tyler added it.
It played right before Asteroid City, so it's Ethan Cohen.
Oh, okay.
And this movie looks, I don't know, the trailer just was not it for me. It looks super quirky. It's Ethan Cohen directing a movie about like a Thelma and Louise type relationship between two queer women. So it's like, do I want to see Ethan?
I saw that online. Yeah.
Do I want to see Ethan Cohen's take on a queer woman relationship? I don't really know. And the movie looks super quirky from the trailer. Like Matt Damon's in it. A couple other big name actors are in it. But
This kind of came out of nowhere for me. I hadn't heard anything about this.
Right, kind of out of nowhere.
I just saw it was tweeted about last night, and I must have missed it. So
yeah, it came out right. It premiered before Asteroid City's wide release this week. But Margaret Qualley's obviously having a massive year. But man, she has a like. Her southern accent in this movie's rough, man. Like it's super thick.
Bad?
And it's just it's a fine accent, but I just refuse to believe like she just doesn't give off like the most like she's kind of southern-ish in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like it's Californian obviously, but she kind of has that somewhat country like accent-ish, but like I feel like that's as far as she can go. Whereas this is just like parody level of accent. And like that on top of how quirky and weird this looks. I don't know. Basically, it's like the trailer's like they go to rent a car that needs to get they go to rent a car to like drive from like wherever somewhere up on the northeast coast down to Florida, and then like drug dealers go to that rent a car dealership and like are like, hey, that car was for us, and basically you find out like there was a ton of drugs in the trunk of that car. So now Margaret Qualley and her lady are like driving away with all these drug dealers' drugs, and then they like get a flat tire, open up the trunk, realize they have all the drugs. And there you go. That kind of kicks the story into motion. Like Matt Damon and some other people are like trying to hunt them down. They're trying to run away with all the drugs and contraband. and that's kind of where we go from there. But the trailer, like I said, like the one word that if you guys haven't seen the trailer yet, whether you are my co-host or anyone listening to this, easily the number one word takeaway you'll get from the trailer is just quirky. Like it's just weirdly beyond quirky, and it just wasn't it for me. I just didn't look like I cared for it. But yeah, did anyone else see the trailer, or was it just me?
No, I just saw you added it to the rundown.
Yeah.
So
but
watch it for next week.
Real quick on Dumb Money, because I had to step away during that. So it's always funny how like in touch or out of touch people are with the internet culture and stuff like that. Because like, so obviously this was like big memed on the internet and talked about all the time on the internet with a GameStop, like Diamond Hands, all that. But still, like it affected like real world stock market. So I assumed like even the not online people would have known about this. But this couple sitting behind me had no hard feelings. This trailer played, and then like they were the type of couple that were so annoying, man. They're like 40 and they would just like comment on everything, even during the movie. Like it was so annoying. I wanted to just punch them in the face because they were just like the classic, like Jennifer Lawrence. Some guy would talk like bad to her, and then they'd be like, "Oh no, he didn't." And I'm like, "Oh my god, just shut up." Seth would have probably actually beat them to pulp. But yeah, after this trailer played, they're like, "No," the Dumb Money trailer, like, "No way was that a real story." I'm like, "This was 4 years ago."
Yeah.
Like, and I thought everyone, like, I thought even people who weren't online at all knew about this. And I was like, I was just shocked.
Pretty big.
Like, it was just so weird that they're like, that looks so dumb. No way that was a real true story. I'm like, this wasn't that long ago. And I thought everyone knew about it, but I guess not. Maybe didn't reach the country folk.
Yeah, it was fairly big. Like it says in it, like people were losing billions of dollars, which that whole thing got fucked when Robin Hood took it off trading. Boo. But yeah, we don't have to get into that. Moving into news, really not a ton this week. I don't know. This is in no order of like most important to least important. I just kind of threw it in as I saw it. But Quentin Tarantino says his next movie, obviously titled The Movie Critic, is basically like Travis Bickle if he were a movie critic. So Taxi Driver if it were about movies, I guess.
Bro, he's literally me.
Yeah, there you go. I saw a quote tweet of like the average Letterboxd user that made me laugh.
Was funny, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Nothing really crazy. I just threw it in. I thought this was kind of funny. Tom Cruise did an interview this week and was like, we did the most dangerous stunt first. And he said, we'll know if we need to keep going or not, basically if he dies or not. I just kind of found that funny. It's a smart thinking.
I'm sure you guys saw the behind the scenes of him like jumping his motorcycle off the cliff. You know, he did that 6 times.
No, I didn't. I thought he did it once, and it was good.
No,
what the fuck is wrong with this guy? I thought these were like
6 times.
Dude, the behind the scenes is crazy too, because like it shows all the people in like the tent, like watching all the equipment as it's going down. They're all just literally like holding their breath. They're like, "Oh fuck, my God, please work."
It's literally like a shuttle launch where like in a movie where like everyone's all silent staring at the screen, and then they get like one bit of news and they're all like clapping like crazy. It's like, oh,
probably.
He didn't die this time.
Well, no, God. Because they're literally like all in the tent, and then they're just like holding their breath, and then someone's like, "I see a parachute." I think like I see a parachute. And they're like, "Oh, okay, thank God." It's like you'd think they'd have a little more like the fact that like it was literally like some dude calls out, and they're just like, "Oh, I think I see a parachute." And they're like, "Okay, we're good." It's just crazy, man. Just wild,
what do you?
Good for him. Just being
slightly dark question. They're filming these scenes. What happens if he dies,
dude? They give up. Call it.
Really? Like you don't think they're like ready to go with like a replacement or something?
I mean, they have the masks.
He said, what did he say? He was like, there may be, he said, I think in the quote, he was like, maybe there will be major rewrites or something. So I wonder if they even try to continue if like some crazy accident.
Would they actually just kill his character off or something?
I feel like you can't kill off Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible. No. So you probably try to Fast and Furious 7 it with Paul Walker and just like use his brother if he has one but we know how good that looks with like a de-aging. I'm sure it can't look great for an entire movie where he's the center of it. Paul Walker was I think they only did like the last couple minutes of that movie.
I just can't help but laugh thinking that like the entire crew of Mission Impossible has like a playbook ready to go in the event that Tom Cruise dies filming one of these scenes.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
How old is that? He's got to be like 60 now, 61,
he's 60. Yeah, he's 60.
Is he that old? I thought he was only 50.
Yeah, but he looks like he still looks.
Yeah, good for him. It's because he's jumping. He's 60. It's because he's just jumping off of things. 60 years old. So good for him.
Good for him.
Moving on. Pretty big news. The Academy announces that movies now must screen for at least a week in 10 of the United States top 50 cities to be eligible for Best Picture. So before it was just New York and Los Angeles. Shout out the Indiana folk, because Indianapolis is on that list, probably number 2. But yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get to see any of those.
I don't
in theaters,
understand that joke, I'll be honest.
Indianapolis, it's a city, but it's probably not that big. I'm in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, man. So it's the Midwest. But this is good, for people that want to go see these movies that are produced on Netflix in theaters. Is it a crazy change? Probably not, but it's good. You can get to see, and it's also outside of New York and Los Angeles. So now maybe you can live like in Chicago and go see them, because that's obviously going to be up there. But not a whole lot to say there.
Well, yeah, I think the big thing is when they announced that or when Netflix announced they weren't going to have anything in movies anymore, but then people are like, oh, well, the Academy says or in movie theaters, and the Academy's like, well, you have to have it for a week showing in like one of the major cities. And everyone was like, well, Netflix has that Netflix only theater in LA. They're probably just going to just throw it in there for a week and be like, look, we're eligible now. So I think this is big because sure, they could do the minimum and just pick the top 10 cities, like LA, New York, like Dallas, Austin, Chicago, Phoenix or something, and just be like, okay, we got 10 there, good. But I feel like more so likely that they're just going to go back to doing limited releases in terms of like pretty much every major city will get it. Maybe your local movie theater's not going to get the Netflix movie, but the main metropolitan area nearest to you will have it. Because I find it hard to believe that they're just going to pick 10 cities now and check it off. I think more so what this does is it moves it from only one theater in the United States, being that Netflix original theater showing The Killer and Rebel Moon. Now I think it's going to be just every major city movie theater, and maybe it'll make them more likely want to try and do the blockbusters and wide releases again. And it's just I think it's a good change to force for streaming in general, because I think it's starting to take over more and more, and the movie theater needs as much help as they can get. So I think this is overall very.
They have a Netflix only cinema. That's interesting.
In LA, yeah. And then Seth, for international films, qualifying non-US markets include the top 15 international theatrical markets plus the home territory for the film. So it also has to be shown in top 15 international markets, as I said. So that's good.
You think Sheffield is on that list?
Maybe. Could be, man.
Definitely not, no.
So think of Sheffield compared to London, and then think of Indiana compared to New York.
Sheffield's the 4th biggest city in England, and it's still nowhere near London.
So this is gonna, maybe call out some people. Think of Wales compared to London. Is Wales a big town, big city?
Wales is a country.
Country, that too. That's what I meant. Think of Wales.
That was the most American.
That was bad. That was bad.
Hey, Seth, I know Wales is a country. I know Wales
that's
is a
on
country.
me. How big's Wales? How big's Wales?
It's a decently sized country. It's not.
All right.
Big.
What's a small country?
Why are we getting okay,
I'm trying to give you a little insight to what Indiana is. I'm from the Midwest. I said
Northern Ireland.
Seth, in the movie Interstellar, when he drives in the cornfield.
Yes.
When he's in the middle of that cornfield, that's Cam in Indiana.
That's me.
It's just surrounded by corn, nothing else.
Exactly.
I'm never letting that go. You just called Wales.
That's fine.
City.
That's fine. I do deserve that, honestly. So that's on me. M. Night describes his next movie Trap as a psychological thriller that is set at a concert. Great. Yes. I don't think there's really anything else to say, but
sounds
awesome.
Good.
Yeah, and then
can't wait. My most anticipated film ever.
Yeah,
it should be.
Lastly, kind of carrying into nerd news, Marvel, at Netflix, HBO, Sony, Lucasfilm, and Universal are all out of Comic-Con this year, which
doesn't shock me at all.
Does not shock me, especially for Marvel, given that they already done their big slate, and they probably have a whole lot of things to figure out if they're even going to keep the Kang Dynasty on that slate or what. Especially after all these delays, they're probably just trying to figure things out right now. So it doesn't really shock me. Warner Bros. Is kind of the only big movie studio left. And I fully think they need to go to Comic-Con and do something, because that could be the worst managed major company in history. They just can't make money. They don't know how to make money.
Executives at Warner Brothers are definitely pressuring the fuck out of James Gunn to make major announcements about the DC slate.
They gotta
release dates.
Yeah, exactly. So I bet I would be shocked if Warner Bros was not there, because they would be the biggest. They would be the Hall H panel, the biggest one. This is LA Comic-Con. Sorry, I know there's like San Diego Comic-Con. Sorry, I know there's New York and London, but this is San Diego Comic-Con I'm talking about. But that kind of segues us into nerd news. Not a ton of crazy stuff this weekend, but starting with Marvel. Basically, in the last couple days, it's kind of come out that animation on Across the Spider-Verse was a little bit of hell. People were working 11-hour days, 11-hour days for 7 days straight, doing it all over again the next week. Basically, a major animator on Across the Spider-Verse was like, there's no shot Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. We
kind of expected that.
In March. I think Phil Lord and Chris Miller were trying to like deflate it like right after Across the Spider-Verse came out and being like, we're basically done with Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like all the animation is there, which I do think, they probably can do it quicker. Cause when they say like this animation took 5 years to do, it's like 3 years of just figuring it out. Probably like what do we even want to do? So it's a little inflated from that perspective, but it does sound like, people were working really hard days. Obviously, there are a lot of professions that do this, and there was a lot of like crazy replies to that tweet. That's like, finally figured out how to work, and it's like, shut up. They do not. No one should be worked to the bone like this. But Amy Pascal came out and was basically like, welcome to working on movies, which is just such a fuck you to them. I mean, working on movies is hard, but I think her direct quote was "Welcome to working on a movie." Just so inconsiderate. You could have at least said something of like, "I'm sorry it was so much, but we're really proud of like all the hard work they did," something like that. But no, it's just fuck you. Basically,
she basically said, "Stop being a bitch."
Yeah, exactly. Very inconsiderate to the animators, but hey, I don't want to say it's a good thing, but I want them to at least know their hard work paid off, because it looks like one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. I think most people can agree. I hope they at least feel some sort of sense of accomplishment, and I hope they were compensated well for it, because it is probably not.
Yeah,
but
they probably were not.
It's tearing up the box office right now, so I hope they at least got good money, which they probably didn't. But I can hope.
This makes you really look at the using the 14-year-old Lego guy in a different limelight, because sure, like it's cool to give him an opportunity, but they paid him less than they would have paid a normal person to do the Lego scene. It just kind of puts like almost a bad taste on that like warm-hearted story from 2 weeks ago, and it's like I don't know. Now I feel like I'm looking at this at a way different lens of why they hired a 14.
I'm sure he's happy. At the very least, I bet they tried to keep the 14-year-old happy, because they know they'll looked at bad if they.
Yeah, but a 14-year-old probably got like a
doesn't know.
Something way less than like a normal animator would get. But I don't know.
They probably didn't even give him money. They probably just gave him a bunch of Spider-Man action figures. and a McDonald's gift card.
Man, I'd take that.
And it's funny because they're like,
go crazy.
They're like, oh, he spent his summer vacation working on it and all his days after school, and it's like, oh, that's cute. He like was doing it and dedicated. Now I'm just picturing Amy Pascal he's like waiting.
Welcome to a movie, bitch.
No, he's like waiting for his dad to pick him up at school. He just stands outside his backpack, and she just drives up and she's like, get in the fucking car. You got animation work to do.
Yeah, like that's fair. She just got like a gun. Like, all right, do it. Make me Lego.
Oh man, but yeah, like $100 million we always felt was just too low for a budget for that movie. Starting to make sense why. Maybe Pixar pays their animators much better. That's why Elemental was massive budget. But yeah, it's just a kind of the movie industry in general, and like what the whole writing strike and Screen Actors Guild strike are all about, is that they do a lot of the work but get not nearly enough of the pie, and hopefully that changes. We'll see.
Yep, I hope that like these next working conditions on Beyond the Spider-Verse are better. We'll see what comes out of it. It sounds like some animators are like pretty upset about it, some are not, but we'll see what comes from this. It happened like yesterday, so we don't have a ton. But the next big big news in animation or art. Secret Invasion uses AI for opening intro. The internet riots. This is terrible in the sense that you could have gotten artists to do it.
Probably
a lot
quite
of
cheap
people,
artists to do that as well.
huh?
Probably
Yeah, you could have gotten
low value artists to do that.
Yeah, to do that. I don't think it looks very good. I think George liked it. The idea that like the AI is taking over, it makes sense to use it. In my personal opinion, I think it's just a big movie studio trying to get in front of using AI, just kind of to see what the feel is. And clearly it's not a good feel because people are very upset online. Sure, they won't be using AI anytime soon on anything major. I think opening credits probably the least of the evils. You could have gotten AI to do a lot more. That would have been a lot worse, I'm sure. But any thoughts on this, Seth, George, Tyler?
I didn't watch it. I've not seen it. Anyway,
I don't know if you haven't. No,
I'm
go,
still
George.
on the train that like I think people overreacted like fucking crazy. Everyone's tweeting like, "Oh, this is how it starts. It takes away, good work from artists," which I agree. I completely agree. And if Marvel goes on to use AI for their writing and their acting, then I'll be fucking pissed off about it. But using AI
to
on
act, it's pretty impressive.
I don't know, just anything. But using AI on a 30-second intro when it's very relevant to the show and what the show is about is not something to be up in arms about. I think it's a very interesting decision by Marvel. I think it's very bold. Obviously, I don't think the reception was what they expected it to be, but I also think people are overreacting like crazy.
I think it's big, like especially right now with the writer's strike. Obviously, artists are probably very underutilized in pictures and underpaid, and I think that's a big.
Again, I completely understand. I agree with you there. And like I said, if Marvel goes on to just continuously use AI, then I'll be upset about it. But the fact that if they had used the AI intro on Moon Knight, I would have been pissed. But the fact that they use it on Secret Invasion when it's very relevant to the themes of this show, I think people are completely missing the point.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying. I don't know if Tyler or Seth, not seeing it, have any opinions on AI.
Yeah, so
I don't know the concept. Like I don't know. Like George said, I think it relates to the show. Obviously, I've not seen the show. I have no idea, so I'm not going to get in with that bit. But I just think it's a weird one. Yes, they don't use it for credits. I just think it could have been given to artists who probably wouldn't have charged that much for it anyway. I have seen it. I didn't I didn't particularly like the look of it. But again, I don't know how it relates to the show. It might relate to the show, like George said, quite a lot. So I don't really have that many thoughts because I just don't know enough about it, to be fair. I just didn't really like how they used it.
Yeah, so this is just, I was researching it. So the company that did it is Method Studios. So because Marvel Studios itself is mostly just, a business organization. Most of the actual work is other companies they subcontract out to. Mm-hmm. So Method Studios, this isn't the first time they work with them. Method Studios did visual effects for Ms. Marvel, Loki, Moon Knight. So it's not like they went to a separate AI company. Method Studios was the one that made the call, used the AI. They made a statement to the Hollywood Reporter saying no artist jobs are replaced by incorporating these new tools. It was just used as a tool. So you can believe what you want. Is it just PR or whatever? But I don't know. And Marvel might have had an input into it, but I do think one thing that's overlooked is like Marvel contracted this out to a visual effects company that has done visual effects for all their other shows. And it's very possible that we live in a world where Marvel just like, Method Studios, here's this X amount of money, make us an intro. And they decided, let's use AI for that intro because, like I said, I think Marvel Studios is mostly just like a business organization as opposed to doing a lot of the nitty gritty. And I think they probably got that intro back. We're like, okay, this looks fine. This looks good. But whatever. It's weird. It's a weird one because I think the thing is why a lot of people overreacted, which I'm on the side of that AI, like replacing artists is like an issue and I don't want to see it happening. But I think the big issue is that I think for so long, artists and people in the artistic industry thought they were safe from stuff like automation, technology, because it's been like 100 years now where machinery, engineering, stuff like that has been taking people's jobs for dozens of years, hundreds of years, where, factory workers aren't really getting jobs the same way they were because things are robots and automated. And I just think for so long, people were like, well, at least like, artists like singers, actors, all that kind of stuff, that will never be replaced by robots. I think that was just the mindset for so long where it's like blue collar jobs will, but we won't. And I think it's just like people are like, oh shit, maybe we actually can. And like it looked pretty bad, but it's something that's like anything in technology that is going to rapidly improve in the next couple of years because I feel like technology develops at such like an exponential level. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I feel like a lot of people overreacted because they didn't think that art could be something that would be replaced by AI. And now it seems like it's starting to take those jobs. Also, I don't think everyone knows the whole story of how they decided to use the AI because, like George said, I think it plays into the story, but also I don't even know if it was Marvel's call, honestly, or if it was Method Studios' call. But yeah, I think overall AI, bad look for something like Disney to be behind something like that. But I think there's a lot more to it than a lot of people on Twitter that just started screaming, got about it.
Yeah, and I think everyone can agree like AI taking jobs is a bad thing. We don't want to see it happen, but also it's like you said, it's something Method Studios may have came up with, and it's just it's very cool right now to just go online and piss on things, whether it's Marvel or something else. It's a lot cooler to be angry about something online than
I think this is valid for people to be angry about, though. I do think
I think a lot of things that people are angry about online are valid, but I think also sometimes people get angry about some things because it's a big Marvel Studios versus other things, and we talked about
agree.
it before. I think the internet saw an opportunity and tried to eat it up, but I think we can all agree like AI taking jobs is not the goal, and it's not something we want to see. But if the studio comes out and says like the animators that would have been working on the intro just worked on, like, it's not like you tell AI to like, hey, make me an intro for Marvel Studios. Like you have to like work with it to get what you want. So as long as like, hopefully it's true in the sense that Method Studios didn't actually like, no one lost their job for this and everyone got paid how much they would or whatever. That's all good. Hopefully that's true. We'll see. Moving on. This is just funny to me. Bad Bunny is out as El Muerto, and there's no longer a release date attached to the movie. Seth,
who would have guessed?
Yeah, Seth is looking at me like I have three heads. El Muerto is a D-list Spider-Man villain that Sony was going to try to make a movie about.
That F-list Spider-Man.
They announced it at, was it CinemaCon or was it SonyCon, or they had some sort of like
it was announced.
They had something. It was about a year ago at this point, maybe a little less than, that they announced this, and basically the internet like was like, "Why the fuck?" Like it's not even on the level of like Kraven the Hunter, of like people know this character. Like nobody know. It has the El Muerto, I believe, has like 3 comic book storylines that they've made. Like what's up?
I thought this was like about one of his like albums or something. I had no fucking idea.
No, dude, this is
the Bad Bunny documentary.
Yeah. Documentary about Bad Bunny, and they have to recast Bad Bunny.
I genuinely thought that. I was no idea what it is.
He's out. He's not making this album anymore.
It's like, why are you putting this in the fucking rundown?
No, this is just like the most like D-list, unnecessary Sony Spider-Verse villain movie that nobody gave a shit about, immediately got memed. And now it doesn't have a release date. They've lost Bad Bunny. They say they're still recasting. This has a less of a chance of coming out than Blade, which is a 0%. But yeah, it's not happening. Very funny. Sony might be worse managed than Warner Brothers. Other than Sony at least has Spider-Verse going for them and like good movies, but I guess hell to work on now. So yeah, they're lost. Moving on to DC stuff. Not a huge week again. We just fly by these things. But Sasha Kaye has met with Peter Safran about her future as Supergirl. Great. Hope she comes back. She was like one of the shining lights in the Flash movie, in my opinion. And I like the Flash movie a good amount. So maybe not only one, but any thoughts? We like Sasha Kaye. I think, yeah. Okay, cool. James Gunn has had auditions for Superman Legacy, basically said they all went great. Awesome. We'll see who gets cast. And then lastly, James Mangold describes Swamp Thing as a very simple, clean, gothic horror story about a man and monster. I think most people I think can get behind that. I'm pretty confident James Gunn's not afraid to make some of these R-rated. So if they're going to, I would hope this maybe could get that. And we've seen James Mangold with the R rating in a comic book movie. He does very well. So yeah, it's something I'm excited for. Lastly, I didn't throw this in the rundown, but I'd like to mention it's projected that The Flash is going to make $14 million this weekend, which would be a 75% drop off from the first week.
What was the budget? The actual production budget?
Like 200 270, yeah, 270 million. It's gonna make it's gonna make like 200 million. And I'm working on a video right now, but I've put together a list of like why this movie failed outside of just Ezra Miller sucking. And so right now I've got weird CGI getting leaked online that everyone just makes fun
spoiler
of.
for Cam Walsh 27's TikTok content.
Yeah, sure. Also, spoiler for The Flash, I guess. Weird cameos that nobody cares about and also got leaked online. Story's been done, like this Flashpoint story's been done a million times before, whether you like it or not. And every time that it's been done before, it's been done better. The multiverse is just kind of overdone right now, especially coming out the week after Spider-Verse, which is probably the best multiverse movie we've ever gotten. In a while, or I guess Into the Spider-Verse, maybe. I don't know. But bad look coming out the week after. DC is about to get a reset, so why do people give a shit about this? And then also Warner Bros. Just basically said nothing about the Ezra Miller controversy and what they've done. So like they're kind of just trying to brush it under the rug. I think there's a whole lot of factors outside of like Ezra Miller sucking going into this thing flopping, but it's bad right now. It's like one of the highest. I believe this is the second highest drop week to week at 75%, right behind like Steel for a superhero movie. That is. But yeah, any comments on the Flash budget? Or
Yeah,
I guess
box
box
office?
office. I mean, yeah,
Right.
I don't know where the money went. Moving on, nothing Star Wars, so we'll just get into what we've been watching. George, anything crazy?
Nothing crazy. I watched Minari yesterday, which we'll talk about in our Real Quick in a few days, and then I also watched End of Watch because I thought that's what we were going to be talking about in our Real Quick. So
I told you like 3 minutes after that we were switching to Minari.
I know I had to have missed that text because I really don't remember anyone saying End of Watch. I watched Your Name.
Minari, you mean?
What?
You mean
You don't remember
anyone
anyone saying
saying Minari?
Yeah. I watched Your Name. Haven't rewatched that in a couple of years, maybe 1 or 2 years. So I just checked it off. A few more Love, Death, and Robot episodes. I feel like I've been doing like that a lot lately. Just I finish a movie and it's like 10:30 and I don't want to go to bed, so I kill a couple of Love, Death, and Robot episodes. Interstellar, goated. Dark of the Moon, average. Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, goated. I watched the first Star Trek movie. Tyler, I saw your tweet where you like asked people about
Star Trek movie.
the 2009 one.
Not the like. Oh
No.
Which one was this?
The one with Chris Pine
first
and
Chris
Zach
Pine.
Quinto.
I actually quite like that one. I think that one's all right.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I really had a good
Yeah.
time with it. I gave it a 4 stars. I thought it was a genuinely good movie.
Yeah.
And then a La La Land rewatch, which I feel like I've been doing once every 3 weeks.
Jesus
for some reason
Christ! You say that
recently.
on every what we've been watching this
I
week.
know. I swear. I've been rewatching live. It's the
Great
same thing
movie.
as like my Love, Death, and Robots. Like if I start a movie early at like 6 and it's done by like 8:30, I'm just gonna put on something that I don't really need to pay attention to because I've seen it so many times. So it's usually either the Batman or La La Land.
Or
peak.
Spider-Verse.
It's incredible.
It's it's
Um,
pretty good.
It's a good movie. Those all yours, Seth?
Yeah,
What
that's it.
you been watching?
Yeah, I've watched a few things this week. I ticked off Black Mirror on Monday, so the latest season. I'll be honest, I wasn't huge on it. So my favorite episode was Beyond the Sea, which I think is the general consensus, which I gave a 3.5. Lock Henry, I thought was okay. I gave it a 3. Jonas Orphos, thought was okay. I gave it a 3. Demon 79, 2.5, and Maisie Day, 2.5.
I'm surprised
I
you
was
didn't like Demon
disappointed.
79. I thought that would have been something up your alley.
No, I didn't hate it. I just didn't really work for me, to be honest. I found it quite dull for the most part, and I don't know. My main issue with this season, it felt like a horror anthology and not a Black Mirror season. Do you know what I mean? The only thing that felt Black Mirror was the Beyond the Sea, and even then I found that incredibly predictable, the Beyond the Sea episode. I think that was the main issue of this season. It was very predictable for most time for me anyway. I watched The Bride of Frankenstein, which I love. Watched all Wes Anderson. I watched Isle of Dogs, Moonrise Kingdom. Moonrise Kingdom, by the way, I thought was great. I really, really liked that one. Life Aquatic of Steve Zissou. I watched Click, which Cam, you are wrong. Click is amazing, just so you know.
Yeah, I saw your rating.
Yeah, I might actually bump them up, to be fair. It's a bit low. And I watched Alien Covenant.
Wait, didn't you give it a 4.5?
Yeah, I might give it a 5. To be fair,
Click's a 5. I am,
Bro,
I am a
like,
6.
come on.
it's not because the
Come on.
thing is, Click is one of those things where it's like I just have great memories of that shit, man. Like I used to watch it with my dad, and my dad.
I
said
was
to-
gonna comment on your review, but your review was a little emotional, so I was like, all right, I'll be nice.
No, it's not. This is the thing with like a Click thing. Like
I
So,
get it. I get it.
when I watched it with my dad, do you know his dad in Click who dies, and then he like
Yeah.
goes to see him. My dad always used to say, remind me of his dad, his granddad. So it's like this whole emotional thing. I just have a lot of like love for that film.
I fully respect that. I don't have that. I don't think it's a great movie.
Yeah, well, you're
I'm
wrong.
sorry. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I watched Alien Covenant finally, which fucking 2.9 on Letterboxd is crazy. I thought
Crazy
it was
high,
shit.
crazy low.
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 I give it a 4. I thought it was great.
Do I
Like,
have
I
Alien Covenant rated?
I really enjoyed it. I think I've just held it off for so long. And then I watched Isle of Dogs, like I already said. But yeah, I watched a few Asteroid City and Minari for our review. But yeah,
Have you seen Prometheus?
Yeah, I think I watched Prometheus for years. I think Prometheus is great.
Okay.
I
think
I'm a big fan of both. I have both of Prometheus and Alien Covenant at 4 each. I actually think Alien Covenant I might prefer a slight bit, but I'm a big fan of the Alien continuation. There's only kind of like 1 or 2 Alien films I'm not a fan of, to be fair. Which is
I think they get like hated on like crazy.
It is
Especially,
like
the more
wild.
recent. Yeah, like I think Prometheus is a very solid movie. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's so slow for an Alien movie." I'm like, "Did you watch the
It's
first
'cause-
ever Alien movie?"
it's
There's like a
'cause it's
10-minute intro of
Yeah,
nothing.
it's because it's completely different, aren't they? As
Yeah.
Ridley Scott really put a difference on them, which
Yeah.
I appreciate. But yeah, I really enjoy them both. I think the only Alien film I don't particularly love is the third one, the Fincher one.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
that's
awful, but I just think Fincher didn't really
Take-
have any control or anything like that. So it was
take a wild guess. Who thinks that Alien 3 is the best Alien movie?
probably Owen or some shit.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. He has it at 3.5.
Does he? What does he have? I thought.
He has Covenant like a 4.5.
Oh, okay. I thought. I mean, either
I
way, he
respect
likes
that.
the movie.
I have it at
Yeah.
2.5 Alien 3. I do think it's riddled with issues, but I still have a little bit of enjoyment with it. But yeah, Prometheus and Covenant I thought were fantastic. Really, really enjoyed them.
Cool. All right, Tyler, what you been watching? A whole lot of things.
Yeah, so watched Blade Runner for the first time finally. I'd seen the first like 40 minutes like 4 years ago. Just couldn't get into it. And that's just like an example of why your taste changed over time. But I loved it. I gave it like 9.6 or something. I gave it a 5-star. 9.8. 9.8. I absolutely love Blade Runner. I thought it was just fantastic.
That's too low.
Too low?
That's too low.
Yeah, true. Too low.
Too high.
Too
Um,
high.
Too high.
Flip those around and you'll get me.
Way
I
too
have it
low.
at 89.
Blade Runner's fantastic.
Way too low.
All right, so Blade Runner 2049 is about to be 100 or 10. Sorry.
No, I think the original's better.
Nah,
Slightly.
Nah.
I think the
that-
slightly better. George, what do you think? You're a sci-fi guy. What do you think's
I
better?
like Blade Runner. I rank higher on my favorites list, but I think 2049 is the better made movie.
Really? I mean, I don't think they're
Yeah.
far apart. I haven't both at 4, but
They're not far apart at all on like my all-time ranking. I think like 3 movies separates them.
I thought you'd prefer the original for some reason. I don't know why.
I personally,
Oh, okay. Interesting. You haven't watched 2049, have you, Tyler?
No, I was about to turn it on last night, but decided not to.
It's a long movie. If I'm
Right.
not-
Yeah, it was
You
too
had
late
to
last
go
night.
at 40, I think.
We had to get up.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, had to get up super early for this
also-
podcast. So
It's also not like a turn on and turn your brain off movie. Like you gotta watch it. You know.
Yeah, first time I probably agree. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
All right,
and then
continue. Sorry.
rewatch Beau's Afraid, which it was so good on rewatch, man. Like it rose my ranks quite a bit. So much of it got put together. It was a much more clever screenplay than I initially gave it credit for, because there's so much stuff that happens right at the beginning that just foreshadows the ending so well.
Yeah.
Just like spoilers for Beau's Afraid, because we've all seen it. But spoilers for Beau's Afraid, skip forward like 10 seconds. But like I just like in the very first scene, like the first like minute, he's like talking about like, oh, are you afraid to go home and see your mother? And then he's like, He's like, I'm not that excited, but like whatever. And then like it just shows the therapist write down guilty, so it's like him voting like guilty or non-guilty, like should he be punished to death? And I was like, damn, like that was like right at the beginning, just immediately foreshadows. And I don't know, I just thought it was so much better on rewatch. I really actually enjoyed.
How much did your rating go up by? I'm assuming it went up. Anyway.
I gave it like a 6.6 originally, now it's an 8.3. So I thought it was fantastic on rewatch. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
And Joaquin Phoenix is like my number 2 acting performance on the year for male actors. As a result,
what's number 1?
Jonathan Majors for the what's it called, Magazine Dreams, which comes out like December.
Maybe.
Nah, it will.
Yeah, they might put that shit on ice.
We'll see. Then I watched Soul and Wall-E. Soul was the first time watch. Wall-E was a rewatch. Both very good. Soul I thought was like honestly kind of a mess first like 45 minutes or an hour. Like I didn't really know where they were going with it. But then the end of the movie was great.
I'm surprised you didn't like Wall-E more. I am, honestly.
I don't know. I think it was just I've seen it so many times and it was just finally watching it to vlog it. So maybe it's just like I just had seen it too much to like rate it as highly. Yeah. So it's just like too familiar. I don't know. Finished off watching all the Mission Impossibles. Fallout was so good. I enjoyed that so much.
Still not started. I really need to start this shit, man. Like, my time is ticking. I need to start watching them ASAP.
Yeah, and I mean, the second one's the only one I didn't love, but I still give it 2.5. Like every other one, I thought I genuinely liked. Fallout was the first one I loved. I know a lot of people also love Rogue Nation. I didn't love that one as much, but Fallout I really did love. Henry Cavill was great in it, and like crazy other guy was also super good in it. Like it was the first one I felt like had truly like good menacing villains that were written well. Because I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was great in his, but I think he was written awfully. So I think Fallout was like the first one that had like good written villains. So I enjoyed that one a lot. And then I also finished watching for the first time the Psycho series, except for the 1998 reboot of the original, but all the Anthony Perkins Psycho movies. So that's Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Psycho 4. Really
I've
good.
Actually never seen any of the sequels.
Really good series. I really enjoyed every single one. They're all good. So in Psycho 4, it's like a prequel / sequel. So like they show young Norman and his mother, and young Norman's played by Henry Thomas, who plays the dad on Haunting of Hill House, like later in his career. So he's just like super good in like deranged horror movies because he was so good as the young Norman Bates too. And I actually genuinely enjoyed Bates Motel also. Like I think all of them are. I just like that universe. Psycho 2.
Psycho 2 isn't the Gus Van Sant. That's the remake. That's the remake.
The Gus Van Sant's the 1998 reboot with Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates.
I know. Is that the 80s one? The Psycho 2, I think.
Yeah, the Psycho 2 came out like 20 years after, and then like 3 and 4 came out a couple years between. But it's good, especially like in Psycho 3 that Anthony Perkins, who plays Norman Bates, directed it himself, so that's cool. Then a couple other things. Got to see an early screening Joyride. Really enjoyed that one. Another very raunchy rom-com. Watched Monica, which is a 2023 release that a lot of people are rating highly. I liked it, didn't love it. Rewatched Hairspray with Riley. Kind of like, honestly, just a fun movie. I enjoy Hairspray. I had a good time with it.
Sure.
Which Hairspray?
The John Travolta one, where he's old fat lady. Just a hilarious casting choice for John Travolta. I don't know how that came to be, but he's genuinely hilarious in that movie. And Christopher Walken as his / her husband, good stuff. And Zac Efron, classic. James Marsden just looks like he's having a blast. Good times. Hairspray's a funny movie. Yeah. Just hilarious, like hilariously easy take on race relations, where like dancing together solves all integration issues. It's just like such a lighthearted take on race relations that's just like so jarring and weird when you first get into it. You're like, oh my god, this is so like weirdly tackling these issues. But I mean, there's so many movies that tackle it in a more serious tone, so it's like whatever. Like it's a musical. What do you want?
Is that it? Sorry.
Yeah, what did you watch, Cameron?
Oh yeah, I've just been I was on vacation this past week, just got back. Yeah, technically yesterday because we got back at like 12:30 in the morning. But so I've just been killing through the like DC animated universe. They're like an hour 15 movie, so they're very easy watches. I think I got through 5 of them. I think there's about 12 or something, if I remember correctly. And then I've seen Flashpoint before, which I think is great. And then everything else has kind of been a little lackluster. They're fine. I enjoy them for the most part. I just don't love them. I like that they tell the stories. They're interesting stories, and you can do a lot more with animation. because like everyone, I made a video about it. Like, here, spoiler for the Flash if anyone gives a shit. But Gal Gadot makes an appearance in the Flash. She makes an appearance in Aquaman, which is funny that she's like cameoed in 3 movies this year. For just just made a small 2-minute cameo in like 3 movies is just funny. But I do think it like works better to do like a Justice League movie in animation, because like it makes sense to have all these characters in one room, but whereas like in live action you have to work on actors' contracts and they actually have to come on set and get dressed up and go through hair and makeup and all that jazz, so it's a lot harder to get them together. Like I think the Flash tried to do it, but again, it's just hard to do. But yeah, I like them. They're fine. Because I'm not gonna say too much about them because it's just fucking DC animated movies. So if you're a fan, great. If not, you won't be. But moving on. As always, thank you to the Patreon subscribers. We always want to shout you out. Also, merch, as mentioned earlier in the episode. So just want to shout that out again, ReelTokPodcast.com before we get into the draft. Also mention, I guess I watched Minari this week. Also mentioning that is our Real Talk review, or Real Quick review this week. So that'll release on Friday. I think we can all agree it's a very good movie. But yeah, we'll get in. I guess I will mention Secret Invasion. We talked about the AI. First episode came out this week. I enjoyed it. I think George said he enjoyed it enough. It's a first episode, so I said it's a top 10 first Disney Plus episode or pilot episode. Hilarious. So good for it. Yeah, good for it making that list. But yeah, I think it's a good episode. I'm excited to see. It's kind of what people have been asking for. Like, there's no jokes in it other than this will make Seth laugh. Like, Olivia Colman is like cracking the most jokes in that show.
I have seen some clips of her on Twitter.
Yeah, she was fine. Like, she's the most like light. I wouldn't even say she's like cracking jokes. Like, she's not saying like, oh, they're behind me, aren't they? Jokes. Like, she's just kind of lighthearted.
Yeah, you need to. What's the dialogue like? Because you need to serve Olivia Colman with good dialogue.
The dialogue's fine. It's just it's not like a great script, but it's not again, it's not like, oh, they're standing right behind me, like the classic Marvel meme, you know. So that's good to see. Like Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, he's not whipping out jokes left and right, you know. Like it's a darker show. They are trying to go for, everyone said, at the Winter Soldier feel. It's a darker show, so that's good. At least I think people will enjoy that if they keep it up for the whole season. Yeah, moving on. So like mentioned, we're going to do a worst Hunger Games characters draft, or I guess not characters. So we are drafting the worst possible roster for a Hunger Games. You must take one robot, one monster, one man from a movie, one woman from a movie, and then one real life celebrity.
Which I didn't know, so my draft is terrible.
Does that have to be a movie or is TV show allowed?
I think TV shows allowed.
Okay, thank fuck.
TV shows allowed. Either I did say that, but it's fine. And also, we've talked about this draft before. Like, I just didn't have any other draft.
I know.
We
I just
talked
didn't
about
know
doing this
criteria.
one.
I know.
But I did the wheel. I got first pick. I swear I wasn't cheating. But for my first pick, I'm going to take my real life person. I think it's an absolute steal. The worst person on earth. I'm taking James Corden. Just getting him off the board. Just
is that a bad? He's quite aggressive. Maybe that's working in your favor. Mm-hmm.
You think James Corden's aggressive?
Behind the scenes, apparently he is to his staff.
To be aggressive.
Oh, really?
He's known to be very aggressive.
Hysterical.
I'm sorry. He's probably not the worst person on earth, especially with all the actual bad people out there. But I'm taking James Corden. I just think he's a meme.
So fucking funny.
Thank you.
Is it me?
You didn't tell us the order, Cam.
Sorry. I thought you guys. I'm sorry. I thought you guys were looking at the rundown.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. The order is myself, Seth, George, Tyler. So Seth is next.
Oh man.
James Corden.
So it's one monster, one robot, one real life celebrity, one male character, one female character.
Correct.
All right.
I only prepped one for each of these. So I hope none of these get taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the exact same boat.
I'm gonna take my male character. I'm going to take Kenny from South Park because he just dies as a guaranteed death. That's like...
He comes back, though. He could... So can they fully kill him though? He keeps coming back.
No, because
He's
we're
coming
talking. If
back.
it's the Hunger Games, maybe it's just one scenario, one film. It's episodic. He won't come back after that, will he? So he's dead. One less person on your team instantly.
Valid.
I guess. Yeah, not a bad pick. I'm okay with that pick.
I think it's a very good pick.
I'm also okay with that pick. I'm going to go with my fictional male, and I'm going to go with Walt Jr. from Breaking Bad.
Oh God.
That's a good pick. I didn't think you'd pull him out.
Pretty good.
I mean, technically, a lot of people die. Spoilers for Breaking Bad. Technically, a lot of people die in that show, and he's not one of them. So,
You know what? You're so right.
That's true. That's true.
I'm gonna stick with that pick.
Okay, I like that pick.
So it's on to me.
Damn, Walt Jr. catching strays today.
I'm gonna go.
I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna go with my robot, and I'm just gonna go with like a classic battle droid from Star Wars. They can't make any shots, and they just get mowed down. Like what?
Not a bad pick.
What's
Just
the KD
one
ratio for the
singular
battle droids? Is it like 1,000 die per like one kill they get of a Jedi? Maybe even worse than that. It's probably like 10,000 droids to kill one Jedi. So
Not bad.
the battle droid, just a classic one from Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace. Then I'll go for my woman from the SpongeBob universe, the woman who loves chocolate, who wants that little like shriveled up caterpillar woman. She's not lasting in the Hunger Games, dude. She's not lasting.
That's impressive.
That's
good.
My next pick, I'm gonna go with my fictional female from Clueless. I'm gonna take Cher Horowitz.
Is that the main girl in Clueless?
Yeah, that's the main blonde girl.
Yeah. She's not lasting.
She's dying. She's folding immediately.
Can I take someone who's not alive?
For a celebrity or for like
Real life person.
No, I don't think you can take someone that's
be
not
alive.
alive.
They got to be able to
that's
go to the
kinda
Hunger
good.
Games tomorrow.
That's kind of good because I didn't actually want to pick that person. We'll carry on. I will go for my real life celebrity, and I'll go for Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis, man. Aw.
Who? What's his name?
He plays.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick. He plays.
I don't know who it is.
He plays Willow.
He plays the professor. He plays Willow. He
plays Willow on the
man.
Disney Plus series. He plays like all the Ewoks in Star Wars. He's very right. I think he does that.
Yeah, he does.
What's his name?
Warwick Davis.
Warwick.
How do you not know this?
I think it might be spelled like Warwick.
Yeah, he's in Harry Potter.
He's a
Yeah,
professor in Harry Potter.
Might be Warwick
no clue.
Davis. Yeah, Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis. Okay.
Interesting. I gotta look at a picture of this motherfucker.
Who's it at now? Is it George or Cameron?
Sorry, no, it's myself. Sorry. I think this
That's
a good
funny
pick,
thing to
isn't
say.
it? It's a good
Funny
pick.
thing.
Yes.
you can tell me if this counts as a male. It may not, but it's a male character that's not human. So let me know if this counts. But I'm gonna take Bustopher Scruggs from Cats.
I don't know who that is.
I've never seen Cats.
Never seen Cats. Well, it's a male cat. Does that count?
No, that's, yeah.
Because
Because
the movie Cats is all like people playing the cats, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they're just large.
I have
cats.
I don't think that's going to be a big needle mover, so I'm fine with you taking it.
What's his name?
Bustopher Scruggs. I'll
Bustopher Scruggs. I've never heard.
Yeah, when you said that first, I thought you were thinking like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I was like, who the hell? Like the guy from it or from the Coen Brothers movie? You got another one, Cam,
Maybe.
right?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me find the actual name to make sure.
I'm only seeing the Coen Brothers film here.
I'm seeing Bustopher Jones.
Maybe
I'm
it's
seeing the
no.
Coen Brothers film.
Does James Corden play him?
Yes.
So you're picking
Yeah,
the duo, the James Corden duo.
So is it Bustopher Jones? Is that what it is?
Bustopher Jones.
Okay, so I combined Buster Scruggs and Bustopher Jones. Okay, and then next, this is for my monster. I'm gonna take the high five emoji from the Emoji Movie. That's a monster. That's a monster.
Okay.
Moving on to Seth now.
I'll take my monster. and I'll pick Mike Wazowski. That guy's a little
stop.
He's a little bitch. He's a little bitch.
He was on my short list. He was on my short
God,
list
that
for
was
sure.
going to be my next pick.
Yeah, that's a good
And I
pick.
knew I should have taken him in the second pick because I figured they were going to be on
It's a
some
good
other
monster
list.
to use, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, my God.
There is another monster to use in that series, though, George. That's all I'll say.
I don't know. Mike Wazowski's the biggest bitch ever.
No, there's bigger bitches in the universe.
Fair. All right, I'm gonna go with my real life human being, and I'm gonna take Josiah Coops.
Oh, that's a big win. I like that pick a lot.
From TikTok fame.
Yeah, so that's my pick.
That's a good pick. I like it.
Buster
So I'm so sorry, Josiah.
No, he understands. He gets it.
Funny. That's funny.
Oh.
All right, who's up next?
Is it Tyler?
Tyler with back-to-backs.
Yeah.
Okay. For a man, I will go with Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my.
Dude's gonna be
That's
toast.
a good pick.
That's
He's-
a good
Great
pick.
pick.
See, like his brother took the Rex Kwon Do classes, but Napoleon himself doesn't have that training to be a true brute. But he can dance and he can so he can emote on some people.
Even his brother would be a good pick. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
I love that.
A celebrity. I love him, but dude got dogged by a camera. So Timothy Chalamet. He's not lasting long. If a swinging,
No,
I thought he took that well.
He took that well.
he
yeah.
took it well, but like I feel like us getting hit by that, maybe I don't know. Cam, maybe you're strong too, but I feel like us getting hit by that, we wouldn't
If
have.
your
flinched.
awareness,
That's such
That's
a
a
little
skinny
shot
dude.
at Cam there.
Yeah, that's tough, but that's all right. That's all right.
That was funny.
all right, I'm gonna go with my robot pick, and I'm gonna take from
No.
Toy Story Sid's spider with the baby head robot on
Bro,
it.
that would scare the shit. I'd run away from that straight
That
away.
might be the winner.
Yeah, but that thing's like 5x5. I'm stepping on that bitch immediately.
Yeah, that's not. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought of this so late, and I couldn't think of a robot. I'm going to take C-3PO because I can't think of anything else. Is C-3PO bad?
Yeah, C-3PO sucks.
Yeah, there we go. Then he's a little bitch. That's fine.
He's not winning any.
He just gets scared and like runs away and makes noises and shit. That's cool.
Okay, for my woman, there was a moment on the Late Late Show where James Corden dressed as a
Jesus
woman,
Christ.
and I would like that. I'll send you the picture.
Yeah, you gotta send me the
Wait, where
picture.
who dresses as a woman?
Huh?
Where who dresses as a woman?
James Corden.
What's your fucking obsession? You went 3 times in this draft.
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah.
Jesus
right.
Christ. Wait, can you
Um,
take that as a woman if it's him just dressing up on a on a
yeah,
talk show?
he's playing a woman in a like a Les Mis skit. So
Okay.
I think on TV that counts. I really tried to find one with him dressed as a robot, but I made it this far. I don't know if I can continue in my James Corden cinematic universe. Damn it! Why can't you play a robot? Nothing. I got nothing. I'm just gonna go with a little bitch robot, Wally. that robot's a bitch.
Wally's
I
got
that
smart.
thing.
While he's mad,
that's-
resourceful, bro.
Yeah, but
yeah,
all the other people in Hunger Games have to do be like, hey, come hold my hand, little guy. He's like, oh, I'd love that, and then just
Yeah.
sock him to the face.
I don't know. I think Wally's mid. I didn't really have any good robots, but I really tried to ham fist James Corden in there as much as possible.
Is it my go? Or is it you've got 2? You just give 2.
He gave it.
Yeah.
George, can I ask you what I have left? I can't actually remember.
You have your
Female?
female character.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, I'll go for Grandma Josephine from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. She literally can't get out of bed, so she's lost already. Oh, that's great. Pick.
From
Grandma
what?
Who?
Josephine.
Yeah, good pull. Good pull. They pee and poop in their bed.
She can't move.
Wait, what
Yeah.
movie is this from?
Yeah.
Oh, Willy Wonka or Charlie.
Wonka.
Oh, God.
These
The
old,
really old one who just
the
sits
old
in bed.
hags just pee and poop in their
Just
bed.
specifically the one who like just says the same thing over and over again, just eats
Yeah.
soup. So yeah, that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great pick.
That's a good.
I
pick.
got actually no clue for my movie monster right now. I'm very, very lost. So I
When you say
think
Mike Wazowski. Oh wait.
yeah, you already took it, Dick.
Yeah,
That was legitimately going to be my next pick. Like I was there. I was ready to go.
there are much worse movie characters. I feel
I couldn't
like
think of many monsters. George, just
I
go
can't.
do what I said. The rest of the Monster Inc. universe. There's plenty.
Yeah. God damn it. I'm so lost. The monsters is a tough one because there's like no weak monsters in film, you know?
There really is.
But I guess I will go. I'll do another one. I'll take Randall from Monsters Inc.
What?
Randall.
Randall being the best one.
I don't know. I think you're screwed. You played yourself.
Character. What the hell's Randall gonna do?
Randall's fucking like he slivers. He's
Yeah. He changes
he's
color.
slithers.
are we finished? No, we're not finished.
No, Tyler has.
I need to tell you,
pick.
George, who you should have picked from Monsters Inc. I'll tell you after.
Oh well, I'm not picking my monster from Monsters Inc. I'm between two. Does Casper the Friendly Ghost count as a monster?
Yeah.
I'll
not going to be a needle
you
mover.
You gave me James Corden cat, so I'll give you that.
And James Corden as a woman.
And James Corden as
James Corden as a woman.
All right, that does it for the
But,
time. Who are you thinking
Who
of?
was your other?
Okay, right. You guys have seen Monsters University, yeah?
Yeah.
Once.
Oh, the
Do you remember
dad.
that guy?
Yeah, the dad. I was going to say that.
Oh.
It is kind
Well,
of
any of that group are terrible.
Jesus.
You could have picked any of them.
That's funny. But I will say, Seth said I took 3 James Corden characters. The high five emoji from the Emoji Movie is also voiced by James Corden.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so I will say that just to fill you in on the gag.
Cam took James Corden. Buster Jones, played by James Corden.
Buster
High five emoji.
No, it's Buster
Buster Jones, played by James Corden. High five emoji, played by James Corden. James Corden playing a woman on the Late Show, and Wally. Seth took Kenny from South Park, Warwick Davis, Mike Wazowski, C-3PO, and Grandma Josephine. I took Walt Jr., Cher Horowitz, Josiah Coops, Sid Spider from Toy Story, and Randall from Monsters, Inc. And Tyler took any battle droid from Star Wars, the Grandma Chocolate Woman from SpongeBob, Napoleon Dynamite, Timothy Chalamet, and Casper the Friendly Ghost.
I missed the Grandma Chocolate as I was looking up James Corden characters, but I like that pick, Tyler. Good draft. I think the goal of this is to get the least amount of votes. I think that's what the goal is.
Tyler, I forgot who that Grandma Chocolate. That's a fucking great
Chocolates. Okay, we'll just say your goal is to lose this draft. I think you want the worst. I think you want the worst votes. Again, thanks to our patrons. Go through our executive producers: Al Bodie, Alex Kepark, Matt Wells, Remy Walker, Stefan Johnson, Sevamot Jeffy, AJ Quigley, Alexander Biscardi, Ben Lege, Ben Hansey, Brody Young, Callum Singh, Cody Whitney, Dakota Buckner, Dean Cotamandis, Dylan Chip, Ferdinando Ford, Jimmy O'Connor, Jordan Gagg, Josh Hines, Luke Deerhog, Marcellus, Nick Shirley, Relapse, Rocco 1.0, Sean Morales, Tad and Bougie, Trey Aries, Will Kim, Eunice BBX, and Zach Graves. Thank you to everyone who supports the pod. Thank you for you three bearing with me these past couple weeks. I'm glad to be back in my own environment. Just thanks for all the support. Like and rate on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you can. Thank you very much.